Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show after a long weekend.
Tyrus is already wound up in crap.
Well, you were off the chain here.
Jason is wild, man.
By the way, like 5 minutes before we're about to go on air, Jason's like, I guess I'll go to the bathroom. I don't have to go. And I said, Jason, because he's always got to pee.
I drink like a ton of coffee in the morning.
I know. But so, I'm like, of course you have to go to the bathroom. And then you admit it.
I got in there, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I did have to go.
That's right.
That's the beauty of a 47, almost 48-year-old bladder.
That's
it just sneaks up on you.
It's always ready to go. It's always ready. Even in times you don't want it to go. We got Earl, Mike, Anthony, and Steve all behind the glass. A lot to get to today. The Guardians. What's that?
Good holiday weekend.
It was, wasn't it? It's weird, though, because we celebrate and cook out on a day that's a sad day.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I got a question about holidays in general. So if you're on a diet, right?
Yeah.
Do holidays give you the pass?
Yes.
To skip?
Yes.
So if
I ate my face off. Yes.
Oh, that's right, because you drink celery and kale and apple. Where the green
that
juice?
weird green juice.
Not yesterday. Yesterday I had 2 hot dogs, a steak.
Dang.
Oh, I was
you ain't good.
I mean, it was my.
Why? You want a diet?
Yeah, I want to lose weight. So this is the thing. Boy.
After you tripped over the ladder?
No, not even that. So listen, America, listen to this.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a shower the other day. Like this was yesterday or 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
You only take a shower every other day?
No. I took one actually every day, but I noticed something. Like this is the first time that I looked at myself in the mirror.
You got a little Dunlap?
Man.
Oh, that's it.
I'm looking at it, and it's like my belly is starting to,
Welcome to the club.
I'm done. Like, and you know what the problem is? It's because like now that I do this, I spend time. I'm not a media person, but I spend time doing media things.
Here we go.
And it always consists of you sitting down and talking.
Right.
So you don't really move around.
That's
we sit here for 2 hours straight and don't move.
That's right.
And it's starting to catch up to me because I'm not active like I used to be. So now the weight is piling on.
Maybe every half hour on the show you should get up and do some laps around the studio.
I think I should. I think every half hour I should do 100 crunches.
Do the show from the
side.
treadmill.
Just go off to the side and do 100 crunches.
Yeah, well, we got the gym just,
well, you
20
see
feet
me,
away.
You see me? Well, did you see me last week when I had the ab wheel out?
No.
Oh, I had the ab wheel out. Then I did the medicine ball. Listen,
ready.
It's bad. It's getting bad.
I wouldn't know anything about the fat belly, but I do know something about sports, I think. I don't know. We got a lot to get to today. We got the Guardians, whose 9-game winning streak came to an end yesterday, unfortunately, against the Rockies. But obviously they're playing great baseball. It was their longest winning streak since, of course, they won 22 in a row late in the 2017 season that had everybody talking.
I'm glad that
time of year.
streak got broke. You don't want to have like those long streaks. They never win anything. Go look at the longest winning streaks.
Right. Oakland.
They don't ever win.
Oakland had the 21.
They don't win nothing. You don't want
the
those.
Guardians, they lost to the Yankees in that second
they're
round.
fun in
They
the
blew-
moment,
Yeah.
but you don't want those long winning streaks. They
Yeah, all right. Well, so just keep having a bunch of 9-game winning
Yeah,
streaks.
that's fine.
Good.
That's
Go
fine.
ahead, Mike. We will get to the Browns. We're going to get to some Cavs coaching stuff. I had an interesting experience at the Lake County Captains game on Saturday. It was good to see Steven Kwan in person, but there were some incidents there, so we'll get to that.
I got one beef from the weekend, though. I want to address before we jump into topics.
What, the fact that you were hammered and inappropriately texting? Mike, I can't believe you, of all people, I said to my wife, what is Mike doing?
I know,
in this text
it was
group?
a bad look by me.
Mikey
Bad look by me.
McShitface. No, it's fine. It's fine.
I didn't say anything stupid, though. I went back and read it.
If you're going to do it, you got to know who's in that group.
That's the part that made me laugh.
I know, listen, not my best moment, but it's not the beef I have.
You're fine.
The beef
You're
goes
fine.
back to Friday.
Yeah.
I was driving a basketball on Friday, and I was turning onto the highway. And as I turned onto the street that then leads to the highway, I heard sirens behind me.
Okay.
And I
Was
I
it
didn't
me
do
in the back of the cop car?
It was not you, but I wanted to ask with you on the panel today to make sure I got your full approval or disapproval of my take now. And I made a perfectly legal turn, like nothing illegal.
Yeah.
And as I go on the ramp, this cop car comes flying in behind me. And I'm like, oh, crap, like, what did I do? And there's nowhere to pull over. There's no shoulder. It's the turn-on ramp to, what's that, 90? Not 90.
Well, we don't know where you were, so.
I was going east. It's on the lake. I get confused with the highway names.
Two.
Two. It's two.
Shoreway.
Yeah, two. So there's no way to get over. It's just the.
Yeah.
So I'm like
You mean when you make the right off of East 9th you talking about?
Yes, essentially.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get over it. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, there is. Not no. Yeah,
No, there's nowhere to go.
You're right. There's nowhere to go.
So I like slow down, and he's like right behind me.
Yeah.
And I pull over, and he starts honking at me, and he's trying to get by me.
Oh.
But I thought he was pulling me over. They need two different sirens. They need different lights. If like, hey, I'm just trying to get past you,
Yeah.
or hey, I'm pulling you over. And I don't know if he ever made it where he was going. I'm not sure if I slowed him down, but I definitely took a minute off this path because I thought I was getting pulled over.
Yeah.
And I essentially just pulled over on the on-ramp, and he wasn't pulling me
And
over.
there was no room to get around you?
No, because it's the other merge from the other side. It was like the worst place to, in theory, get pulled over.
So somebody might have died because Mike
Well,
didn't know
but
what he
no,
was doing.
I mean, he's right. But
I didn't know, I didn't know
how
what
would
to
you
do.
know? That's
when you
fair.
hear like that, I think that's when you know, get out of the way. He's not after you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know that noise?
That's the
Sure,
best-
of course.
Now, the best feeling is when you on that highway or wherever you at,
Yeah.
and them sirens come in, and
they
he
go
get
by
behind you, you be like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
and
right.
then you always got to move just to make sure it's you.
Yeah.
And if you move over, he gonna move with you. When you move over and he
keeps
keep
going.
going,
That's the best
oh
moment.
my God. It's like, thank you.
All right.
Well, since we're on the topic, should
Yeah.
I tell them what happened?
Yeah,
last
yeah,
week?
go ahead.
Oh,
Jason,
man, hold
are you
on.
sure you want to say this on air?
Let me get a drink.
Are you? I'm actually gonna say you probably shouldn't say this. I'm being,
Really?
You probably
Why?
shouldn't say this.
It's settled now, right?
It's settled.
Does your wife know?
Yes.
Okay, then you can say it.
She found out Monday. So, should I say? I'm not going to get in trouble, right? I can say it, right?
You settled it.
All right.
It's settled. I was more worried about your wife watching. That's what I was worried about.
No, I think she's at lunch with a couple friends, so we're
All right.
good. Just keep this between
They're
us.
ladies who lunch.
This between us.
So last week, I'm at my son's baseball game, and I'm sitting there on my. I don't want to say the cities or the. I'll just say I was at my son's baseball game. It's a travel league, and I'm flipping through the phone, and a police officer who I'm not friends with, but I've communicated with, I've corresponded with in the past, approaches and says, "Jason," and I said, "Yeah," and he said he was officer such and such, and he said his partner was running plates in the parking lot, and he said, "You have a warrant out for your arrest." and Earl, can I say what you said when I told the story last week? I told the story last week off air to these guys, and Earl goes, "What'd you say? Your street cred just shot through the roof."
I mean, 10 thug points. He just earned 10 thug points.
So there legit was a warrant out for my arrest last week because I had gotten a ticket driving I was going to the NFL Combine in March. I was driving the Combine, and I was in Huron. And I got pulled over, and I got a ticket. And I'd never paid it. Totally just forgot about it. Just didn't acknowledge it. And so I was held in like contempt of court, basically, for not appearing in court and not paying the ticket. So there was a warrant out, and the cop's like, I mean, we're not going to arrest you, but you got to get this taken care of.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm on it. So of all luck, like the court date because I called the court and I'm like, hey, kind of got an issue here. And she said, okay, well, our next court is Friday at 8:30 in the morning. And I said, well, if I show up, are they going to arrest me? And she said, no, you'll be served with the warrant and you'll be taken directly in front of the judge and get it taken care of. I was like, okay, good. Well, Friday at 8:30, my wife just opened a small little studio in the city where we live, and the ribbon cutting for that was at 10, and then Kobe Altman's presser was at 11, and there's like a rule in journalism, when you write something like scathing or critical, you got to show up. You got to be there.
Yeah.
And obviously that story that Shams and Joe and I wrote a couple weeks ago was very damaging. There was a lot in there.
Did you ask the woman if you could come on Monday instead, or you?
No. At the time, I was just like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I'm like, man, how am I going to be in Huron at 8:30? I got to be at my wife's store at 10, and I got to be at a Kobe Kobe's presser at 11, and like Shams is in L.A. He's not going to be at the Cavs season-end presser.
Right.
Joe Varden was covering the Eastern Conference Finals. He's not, like, I had to be at that thing.
Yeah.
And I was texting you guys like, well, maybe I'll just skip court. Like,
God.
if one of us got to go, maybe that's the one to go, and I'll come back later. I'm glad. I got it handled. Was there at 8:30. Was out. Made everything on time. Boom, boom, boom. Got it taken care
lucky.
of. Yeah, I was the first one called. There's only like 5 or 6 people in there. It's small.
Yeah.
And I was the first one called, so we got it taken care of, and I got out of there. But it was a little tense.
Yeah.
For those few days, I was 10 and 2, seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Driving the speed limit.
I mean, if the wrong police officer had pulled you over,
I
you
know
could have been arrested.
That could have ended very badly. I'd have been cuffed and on Deadspin and Barstool.
I came in on Tuesday like.
Did you see his mugshot?
I'd have had the shirts. Free Jason.
Time is it have the T-shirt.
We
with
would
my
have made so
mugshot on
much
it.
money on the free Jason shirts.
Free Jason
By the way-
with the mugshot.
By the way, when you're speeding on the highway, if you see a cop, don't ever jam on your brake.
No, make him catch you.
Oh, you see? No.
Make him earn it.
What's wrong with you?
No.
What is wrong?
He's already got you. You might
just
as well
take
make him
your
earn
foot
it.
off the gas and slowly let it go.
No,
Jason once told me he went by.
And the key with speeding is get behind someone that's going fast.
Yes. Oh, we do it all the time.
I do
On
it all the
vacation?
time.
Oh, yeah.
If I see somebody flying in the left lane, I tuck
But
right
do
in
you ever
behind.
take turns? Like, it's the gentlemanly thing to do. Is
Nah,
to then,
screw him.
And then
Yeah.
like, slalom down and everybody take a turn for a few miles? Or you just
You've
hold
got
on.
it well planned out.
Screw him.
All right, Mike,
Let's
get to
dive
it.
into some topics today after a quick word from FanDuel. We got a massive winning ticket today I want to show you guys in one sec. But it is now winner take all time in the NBA and NHL. And FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And today's winning ticket comes from D'Angelo McQueen, who sent this in last week. Didn't get a chance to read it yet, but he turned a $10 bet into a $1,181 profit. That is $10 into $1,181.04
Damn.
on a massive same-game parlay between the Pacers and Celtics. The parlay was so long that he sent me 3 screenshots, and it doesn't even show where it starts, so I can't tell you how many parts it was. But between all 3 of these screenshots, he ended up turning $10 into $1,181. So shout out to D'Angelo McQueen for that.
I think that's his real
big-time
last
win.
name, like Lightning McQueen from Cars.
He emailed it to me, so it's harder to fake an email address.
How bad have the NBA conference finals been? I mean, I shouldn't say bad because the games have been close, but they're going to be sweep. The Celtics sweep, and the Mavs will probably sweep tonight. I
been a
hate that
weird
it's Mavs
postseason.
Celtics.
By the way, and we'll talk about this in a
love
sec,
it.
even if the Mavs sweep tonight, the finals don't start to June 6th.
Yeah,
Like
I
8
know.
days off if it happens tonight. But let's start with the guards because they are red hot. I understand they lost to the Rockies last night, but they've won 9 of 10. It was a 9-game win streak, as Bull mentioned earlier, their longest since the 22-game win streak a few years back. They're the only team in baseball to win 9 of the last 10 games, despite the loss to Colorado last night, Bull. What has been the most impressive part of this Guardians surge over the last 3 weeks now? They've won 12 of 14, I think the number is.
Yeah, I think there's so many impressive parts about it, but the fact that you go back even beyond the 9 of 10 because they've won 12 of 14, and I remember that White Sox series a few weeks ago where they lost 3 in a row to the White Sox to start a 4-game series, and Steven Kwan had just gotten hurt before that, and nobody was really hitting outside of Josh Naylor, that was healthy because Kwan was hurt. Fry had been hitting, and Naylor, and that had been it. Even Jose got off to a little bit of a slow start. Mm-hmm. But since they lost those 3 in a row to the White Sox, they salvaged the final game of that series, and the lineup's been great since then. Jose, even before that, but Jose's been sizzling hot and is back to a guy we saw every year before last year. Tyler Freeman's done a real nice job in the leadoff spot of late. And they're just getting contributions from everyone. But what's amazing is their 2 best players in April, Kwan's been hurt, And Naylor's been ice cold this month,
Yeah.
and especially the last couple of weeks. I want to say he's like 4 for his last 40 or something.
It's under 100. He's like 0.93.
Yeah, I mean, he's been terrible lately. And, what are you going to do? Guys go through slumps, but to see his batting average and
Bull.
even his OPS under 800.
Bull, we did the argument a couple weeks ago. Who's a better hitter right now, Jose
Yeah.
or
Right.
Naylor? And you picked Naylor.
Yeah.
Since that day,
Yeah.
and you could say I jinxed it, he has dropped 131 points
Yeah, well,
in batting average since that day.
Jose has
I feel really bad because
has repassed Naylor.
it's bad.
Somebody
Yeah, it's
said
not
we
even
was
the
close.
best hitter
I
right
think
now.
we all was in agreement that day that we take
Well,
Naylor
but
that
it
day.
hadn't just been a month. It had been since like May of last year that Naylor had been the better hitter. Not the better player, but the better hitter. But obviously Jose's been red hot. He's leading the league in RBIs. The lineup just in general to be there, I think 11th in home runs per game. The lineup, I mean, again, there's a lot of things to point to, but a lot of these guys in the lineup led by Jose has been the biggest part of the winning streak, I think.
Go ahead.
Well, Xavier got hit around a little bit yesterday, but
Yeah.
the starting pitching, I don't know how they keep doing it. They keep finding ways to get it done. The bullpen's been terrific. Bull, you're right. It's somebody different every single day, and which is what good teams do. Like,
Yeah.
when Steven Kwan went down, who would have ever thought that they'd rip off 9 in a row with
Right.
him out of the leadoff spot? I mean, I think he was among the league leaders in runs scored, or maybe leading the league in runs scored. He's probably still up there, despite missing a month.
Yep.
Hopefully he's back this week, it sounds like.
I would assume he's back Friday.
I thought he'd be back now, but
Yeah.
then they moved him to AAA for
Right.
to finish off his rehab assignment. So I would imagine he's back for the weekend.
Yep.
But it's obviously that's a huge bat to have back, and I keep saying I don't know how much longer this can go, and we're into June and it's still going. I mean, they are for real. They got a better record than a lot of big heavyweight teams.
They're
in
behind.
baseball.
They're behind the Phillies and a half game behind the Yankees. That's it.
and they were ahead of the Yankees.
They were. Yeah.
Or no, the Dodgers. They're ahead of the Dodgers. is
Yeah.
what I'm
They
saying.
were ahead of the Yankees, but the Yankees didn't play yesterday. The Guardians lost. And the
Dodgers.
Guardians popped
Yeah.
below them.
The Dodgers got hit around by the Reds.
But they have a better record than the Dodgers, better record than the Braves, better record than the Orioles. I mean, they
Braves took a big blow.
Braves-
I mean, they're playing great baseball. Go ahead.
Ronald Acuna
Tyvus.
out. No, that kind of that Braves thing kind of
Yeah.
shaky. No, I think both of y'all hit exactly what I thought. The fact that they're doing this without Kwan and Naylor being cold was very impressive to me. I mean, your two best hitters, and y'all still finding a way to out hit a lot of teams. And then when you talked about the starting pitcher, my thing with everybody's fine. The Curry thing, is he only good for 3 innings? Because this is 2 games in a row, I believe, that he got to the 4th inning and gave up like multiple runs.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean,
Is he a bullpen better
he
guy?
might be
I
one
don't
of
think he's that good a pitcher. I
Yeah,
think that's,
he's
you
not
know.
elite in
Yeah.
terms of prospect status. He might be a guy that's good one time through the order.
Yeah.
and that's once you
Yeah.
get a second look at him is when he starts getting into
'cause
trouble.
this
he
is-
very well may be that guy.
This is 2 games in a row where he's given up a ton of runs in 1 inning.
and there's
I'm
some
just
guys that are like
sheesh.
that they struggle the second time through. So
Hey, listen, he's their 7th starter.
True. That's
I mean,
true.
what are you going to do right now? Bybee, Allen, McKenzie, and Lively are all pitching well.
yeah,
And 3 weeks ago, we were not saying that about
Yeah.
any of those guys.
Yeah.
And McKenzie in May has been really good. Bybee's last 3 starts or 4. Allen, I think 4 starts in a row. And Ben Lively, who doesn't. I mean, this guy's a journeyman. He's like 32 years old. He's barely played in the. I think from like 2017 or 2016 to 2019, he played for like 3 or 4 different teams, was up and down between the majors and minors. And then last year, he played a good chunk of the year with Cincinnati and was terrible. He had like a 5.50 ERA. And now at 31, 32, whatever he is,
it's wild. He was a top 100 guy a long time
but
ago.
that's a decade ago.
Yeah, I know,
He
but
never
but-
panned out.
But the pedigree was there at one
But you
time.
don't. But you look at his stuff; it's not that impressive.
Yeah, I know.
But he's done a nice job. You know what he does? He throws strikes.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for throwing strikes.
Maybe he
and,
got-
and the thing is, and what has really helped him, probably compared to most of the other teams he's been on, is the Guardians play great defense
Yeah.
at most spots. And so, if you're a pitcher who's the ball's going to be put in play, you got to have a good defense to back you up.
And just like 30,000 foot view looking forward to
Yeah.
next year, the year after, the year after. If I'm a pitcher, I want to go to Cleveland. If you're a guy who's trying to hold on in your career, you're
Yeah.
trying to, you had success and then something went wrong and you're trying to fix something, come here.
Yeah.
They're going to straighten you out.
That's true.
It says it's maybe just getting with the right pitching coach. You know, I talk about it in football all the time, getting with the right OC. But it seems like with baseball, you talk about guys coming here and having that wasn't really doing a lot, but they come here and all of a sudden they figure things out. You got to give credit to that pitching staff and that defense that's behind them because they making them look really good.
And it's not just the pitching coach who's a great pitching coach, but it's the whole pitching infrastructure, which is a word we never would have used in baseball 10 years ago. But now it's a big part of it. It's like an organizational thing where you work on pitchers as a team.
So you say
the Guardians are as good as anybody at it.
So you said Shane Bieber is coming back for another year.
I believe so. Yeah, I think
if I were him,
he'll probably sign a 1+1 rehab next year. Maybe he's back in September next year.
He could probably get back before that. I mean, he had the surgery pretty early.
I don't know. I think
he might
August
be back.
is. I go back. John Means had a setback, but John Means didn't come back till September last year.
I got a question for y'all too about McKenzie. So you know how he opted not to get the surgery, and it started slow. Now he's pitching well.
Yeah.
Does this mean that he never will get the surgery now?
No.
I mean, probably not.
Well,
probably not.
You think he still will?
Not definitely, but
if he goes off a cliff, probably. Right?
The only pitcher that I can think of that never had the Tommy John surgery and opted not. Now, when he did have a procedure of some sort after the season, but it's not Tommy John, so it doesn't wipe you out for a year or whatever. But the only other pitcher I can think of that did that and remained a good pitcher, not as good as he had been previously, is the guy from the Yankees, the guy from Japan.
Tanaka,
right. He did that, and he was never quite as good, but he was still good. But I don't think he ever had Tommy John surgery after that.
His velocity dipped, but he was so good in pinpoint with his control and his movement, like even his splitter afterwards.
Right.
Still a filthy
Well, that's the
outpitch.
key for McKenzie. I mean, his
Exactly.
he's not going to have the same velocity, and he hasn't.
He hasn't. Who was it? I was trying to find the story that Zach and I wrote. I think it was Aaron Nola.
He did it also?
He rehabbed and never had
I
surgery.
don't remember that, but okay.
And it was back I think it was Nola.
But it's very uncommon.
Guy with the Orioles this year, Bradish is doing it. Is coming back without the surgery. He's trying to do it.
Okay.
So there's not a ton of them, but again,
Yeah.
it depends on where the tear is. We learned this when Zach and I were reporting out that McKenzie story.
Yeah.
A tear higher up is better. A tear lower almost always results in surgery. And I don't know exactly where Tristan's is, but obviously it's higher up.
Right.
So that's why he was given the opportunity. He was given the choice, and he chose to try and pitch through it.
It doesn't mean he's never going to have the surgery. But right now, like in the first month, I think we were all holding our breath.
Yeah. He's
But now
proven he can do it.
Right. And he's pitching well. I mean, it's 4 or 5 starts in a row.
Yeah.
His last start wasn't great. He gave up the 3 solo home runs. But
I feel like he's always going to be a home run pitcher now. You know what I mean? Like he's always going to give up a lot of home runs.
Right.
Just because
He's not overpowered.
you miss your spot and it's gone.
But
you
I
just
felt
hope it's a
like
solo and not a 3-run.
For a championship run, like in the playoffs, that's what it's all about, right?
I mean, if you're getting guys out, you're getting guys out.
So you trust him? Who would you consider the ace right now?
Bibee.
Bibee?
Bibee, it's not close.
They don't really have an ace. Let's be honest.
See, and that's the thing. See?
I shouldn't even answer that because I'd pitch Bibee in the first game, but he's not an ace. He could be.
Yeah.
But I can't. He's not pitched well enough, long enough.
Correct.
To be labeled an ace.
That's
the Guardians don't have an ace.
2 months from now, we may be talking differently about it, but to this point.
Right. It's not. They don't. Shane Bieber was an ace.
Yes.
You know, and they don't have one right now. The Orioles have an ace, right?
Yes.
They have Corbin Burns. The Yankees, if Garrett Cole comes back, will have an ace with Garrett Cole. The Guardians don't have a guy of that caliber at this point. I think Bibee has that potential more, and Gavin Williams actually has that potential too.
Is he still on the organization?
Well, supposedly he's making a rehab start this week.
I saw him on a milk carton this morning.
By the way, the game I went to see Kwan, Tugboat, which is the best nickname in the Guardians minor league system. He pitched. No, we'll talk about that later. But go ahead, Mike.
We are going to talk about that later, and it is worth mentioning that we're going to spend 10 to 15 minutes on Stephen Kwan and what to do when he comes back with Tyler Freeman in the lineup after we mention a potential trade candidate for the Guardians coming up. But a quick reminder, if you guys missed the Ultimate Guardian show yesterday with Bull and Zach, that is on our YouTube page. Also, if you decide you want to get frisky and have extra money to spend, and you want to go to Dallas, Boston, or potentially Minnesota, if the NBA Finals falls into that category, there's no better place to get tickets online than with the Game Time app. It is easy. It makes getting NBA Finals tickets faster. It takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and the best part about the Game Time app is the prices go down the closer it gets to tip-off. I've used the Game Time app for Guardians tickets. I used them for Cavs tickets. I even used it to buy concert tickets in my time here in Cleveland, and it is yet to fail me. You pick the date, you pick the matchup you want, and Game Time will get you the best deal on the market. They have all, and I mean all, the best priority last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee will give you 110% Game Time credit of the difference if you can find a lower ticket, but you know that doesn't exist. Plus their ticket coverage. Make sure your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. There's no better place to buy tickets than with the Game Time app. So it takes the guesswork out of buying NBA's Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
And let me just say before we bring up the next topic, Guardians-wise, Mike, thank you to everybody who's been watching the Ultimate Cleveland Guardians show. Zach and I are having a ton of fun doing it. 33 minutes or whatever we do is never enough. I mean, we did 33 minutes. We barely talked about the pitching yesterday because we have so many things to talk about with hitting and trades and stuff like that. And Zach and I are having a ton of fun. We may try to do a longer show down the line. We'll see. We had a record number of live views yesterday. We had a record number of total views as of before the show today. So thank you for that. And the truth is that, and this is becoming a problem throughout sports talk across the country, is that a lot of the younger broadcasters don't know baseball. There's a lot of people that don't know baseball, and sports talk in general is becoming only basketball and football. And there are not a lot of avenues you can go for quality baseball talk. And between the Ultimate Cleveland Guardians show, my podcast, and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we bring you 3 different venues where you can get legitimate Now, if you don't like baseball, what can I tell you? Obviously, we talk plenty of Browns here. That's always our main topic. But we do a higher percentage of Guardians talk on this show and on my podcast, and obviously with the Guardians show, than anything else in Cleveland. Nobody else, very few other venues are giving you real baseball talk and real Guardians talk. So if you want it, we got it for you, and we appreciate the support. And my podcast will be out later today with more Guardian stuff, including some trade stuff that, Mike, you wanted to get into now.
Yeah, Steve Becker, EP Steve, sent us a article on Friday mentioning a potential trade between the Blue Jays and the Guardians involving Vlad Guerrero Jr., which we all responded to. There's no way the Guardians would trade Kyle Manzardo for 1 year of Vlad Guerrero Jr. However, there's another player on Toronto that I think could potentially make a little bit more sense for the Guardians if they were. A lot more sense, yeah. If they were to explore this name in the trade market. And that guy's name is Bo Bichette. He's on a 3-year deal currently. He's in the middle of the second year. They signed this contract with Toronto to avoid arbitration. He's a 2-time All-Star, a 2-time AL MLB hits leader. He plays a position of need for the Guardians at shortstop. But we know the Guardians don't like to spend. We know trading is not they do make trades, but bringing in a guy with a $17.6 million salary next year is not something they typically do. But for a player of Bichette's caliber, is this something you would be interested in, the Guardians pursuing at the deadline if they don't start getting more production at Roquio and Arias at the shortstop position?
100% I would be on board with this. In fact, I think the Blue Jays guys are a great team for the Guardians to potentially trade with. Not only do they have some hitters that I find very interesting, like Bichette, whose trade value will be down a little bit because he's not having a good season. You look at those numbers, they're not good. But the guy's been a great player in his early career. We know he's got the family history. His dad, Dante, was an excellent player for the Rockies and a few other teams. You don't see guys named Dante anymore. I feel like it's not a name. You ever meet a kid named Dante these days? Never.
By the way, just for anyone unfamiliar with Bo Bichette, the last couple seasons in 2023, he hit 306, 27 306, 20 home runs, 73 RBIs. 2022, 290, 24 homers, 93 RBIs. 2021, he batted 300, 29 home runs, 102 RBIs. His first 2 seasons with combined 60 games, he hit 311.
He's never had an OPS under 800 until this year.
Yeah, the guy's an excellent player.
He's a great player.
And,
Yeah, great
which
player.
means he's due for a big final 4 months of the season, most likely, unless he's got an injury we don't know about or something like that. If he's healthy, that is a no-brainer move. You get him for 2 years. And I'll tell you something else, Jason. There's other guys on Toronto I'm interested too. They've got a starting rotation of guys. Go get Yusei Kikuchi.
Yeah.
This is the last year of his contract. His contract is $10 million this year, which means you'd only have to pay him $6-7 million the rest of the year for him. Throw him in the middle of your rotation. He give you a 3.50 ERA, a 3.40 ERA the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Plus, I know you might say, well, they don't need any bullpen help. Well, you know what?
You can always use bullpen.
You can always use bullpen help. Their closer Jordan Romano, they probably wouldn't trade him. They got a setup guy, Yimi Garcia, veteran relief pitcher. And most of their relief pitchers are younger guys. I'd love to add a Yimi Garcia. He got blown up the other day, but before that he had like a 0.50 ERA. He's had one bad appearance all year. And I'd love to see the Guardians put together a package of prospects to get Bichette, Kikuchi, and Garcia. Now that would cost a lot.
Yeah.
Those are 3 good players.
I think 2 of the 3 is realistic. I don't think they're going to get
What
all
do
3.
you have to
Probably
give
not.
up for this?
You'd have to give like 5 prospects, and I don't care.
Chase DeLauder would have to go.
Fine.
Let me ask you this: If let's say the Guardians did make this move, what's different now from them making this move now to the years prior? Like, why wouldn't they do this before?
They have to believe, like 2016,
Yeah.
they have to believe
Yeah.
they're 1 piece away or 2 pieces away.
Yeah.
If Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff believe that, they'll make a move like that when they traded their top prospects to go get Andrew Miller from the Yankees when they were buyers in 2016, and
Yeah.
it worked. Miller was exactly what they needed. They made it to the World Series.
Yeah.
But they have to believe internally, this is what we're missing. And normally, like, I kind of poo-poo a lot of big-time trades because it just doesn't fit for one reason. I think the Bichette thing is brilliant. I think it fits
It's
perfect.
a no-brainer.
I was about to say
It's a no-brainer.
You talking
And-
about a 20 home run guy at shortstop and a spot that
Brian
that
Rocchio.
nobody take. Wait, which one of y'all made the Brian Rocchio prediction?
That was me. It was a terrible call.
And you say if you saying move
Yeah.
on from
I
it,
mean, Rocchio's got an OPS under 600.
Let me
right
tell you
now.
something. If trade him to Lauder.
What if they want Gavin Williams? They're going to ask for
I would
Gavin
do
Williams.
it. I would do it.
They're gonna ask
In
for
the
Gavin
end.
Williams.
I got to get Kikuchi or one of their other starters in the deal.
Just to get Bichette and, 2 years of Bichette. I don't think the Guardians would do it. Toronto's going to ask for it.
would you do it? You give Gavin Williams? That's
If I have to get a starting pitcher in the deal, I might want. I'm trying to think about their rotation.
Bassett?
Nah, he's old. Kikuchi's old too.
Well, here's the thing. When you go back to making deals like this,
I don't know how much money he's making.
a lot.
Yeah.
When you have to start for any trade,
Yeah.
you have to start with the relationship between the front offices because
Right.
there's some teams that won't deal with, in all sports, they won't deal with each
Right.
other. They don't
Well-
like each other. There's bad blood. There's a feud.
That's right.
And teams just won't. But then there's other teams that match up all the time. Look at the Guardians and the Padres. They get together
Yep.
all the time on deals.
Right.
And obviously Mark Shapiro
Was here.
being
Yeah.
in Toronto was here. So there's that synergy. There's that relationship. So it makes a ton of sense. Brian Rocchio's OPS is under 600. Him and Gabby Arias both, they just don't look like they're it. And you hate to give up on a guy. Rocchio is a top prospect, and you hate to give up on a guy halfway through his first real shot at it. But you're trying to win right now.
Yeah.
And you can't wait. Like I don't think you can go all season with this. If you have Bichette for the rest of this year and all of next year, the Guardians like longevity in any trade. They don't love rentals. They've done rentals. Yasiel Puig was a rental.
Yeah.
But they got other long-term pieces. Fran Mill was also part of that deal, and they had
Yeah.
him for multiple years of
Right,
control.
right.
So if you can get multiple years of control on a guy like Bichette, and then so if you're not going to re-sign him, but if you get 2 years with Bichette,
Right.
and then maybe Juan Brito's ready, Brito might be ready before that.
Well,
would
you might have to
slide-
trade. Maybe Brito's the guy you
Maybe
have to trade.
Brito's the guy that you trade.
I'll tell you, I would be very hesitant to trade Gavin Williams. I wouldn't want to trade him, and I wouldn't want to trade Manzardo. But I'd trade anybody else.
I'm with you.
I'd trade anybody else.
with you.
I don't care. There's nobody else in
I
the
would
system
trade
that might be
Chase
able to
DeLauder.
But you
trade.
know that's that's going to start with one of those two. Like
That's what they're going to ask for.
Yeah, why
first.
wouldn't you?
And you're not
Especially Manzardo actually been playing good. Gavin Williams he was good last year, but he's been hurt.
Likely, you're not going to do this before the Toronto's not going to trade these guys before the deadline. They're 5 games out right now of the third wild card, which they're dead last in the East. They're 5 games under 500. They're probably not going anywhere, but they're only 5 games. They're spending a ton of money. And they've got a good team. Yeah. On paper, it's supposed to be a good team. So they're going to give this as long as they can, and they're going to let the demand build for these guys.
I think if you traded Chase DeLauder, whatever shortstop prospect they think is the best, I don't care who it is, you trade Ralphie Velasquez, I don't care. I really don't want to trade Gavin Williams. Push comes to shove, if I get enough pitching back, I would do it, but I don't want to.
I think pitching is obviously the hottest commodity. They're going to want some sort of arm. And I don't know.
They're weaker in the lineup than they are at pitching.
But I don't know that Tugboat in single A is enough of pitching. And they don't know. The Guardians right now are sort of in that gap. Like, these things come in waves. Their starting pitching seems to come in waves. And the wave has reached shore now with Bybee. They're not trading Bybee. Gavin Williams, and it's supposed to be Espino, but he's been hurt. And now there's like a little bit of a lull before you get to the next wave of prospects. And I don't know that they have the pitching commodity. I don't know. Who knows who's going to be in this in July if Toronto can get a better deal with better pitching prospects elsewhere. That's where the Guardians are going to be up against.
Right now, if Gavin Williams was healthy, where would you peg him out of the starting
number
pitcher?
1
over everybody?
Yes.
Over Bybee?
Yes. He's the most talented pitcher they have.
And y'all willing to trade?
He did. I didn't say that. He said it. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Oh, shoot.
I would.
What about
to trade Gavin Williams? I'd have to get everything I want. I don't really want to trade him.
What about?
I'm not trading Manzardo, and I don't want to trade Williams. But I would trade anybody else. When teams make these big trades, they don't always give up their top 2 guys.
Correct. Usually they don't actually.
Right.
Usually
but
they don't.
They want the 3rd guy, the 6th guy, the 8th guy, the 10th guy.
Fine.
Done. Let's go.
What about you say his name is Brissett, the pitcher from the Blue Jays?
I said Kikuchi.
Okay, where would he fit in the lineup? Or is he a bullpen guy?
He would be. I'd put him 3rd behind Gavin and
Bybee. Gavin Williams potentially is better than
I'm
those
saying
guys.
if you traded Gavin and got somebody back from the Blue Jays, pitching-wise.
If you got, it depends who you got. Kikuchi would really be their second best starter behind Bybee. Might even be their best.
I'd still take Bybee over Kikuchi.
Long term, certainly.
I'm talking about just for this year.
Just for this year, you probably start him in game. You probably would start him game 1 or game 2.
So he'd be
in the playoffs.
He'd be potentially your ace.
Yeah, he's not an ace, but they have Jose Barrios. Although the money's probably too much. What's the money on Barrios? I gotta look him up.
It's a lot, and quite a few years left. I think he's probably got about 3-4 years left.
I like him a lot.
He has you signed a 7-year, $131 million extension in 2021. So
So they'd have to eat some of that money.
They're not going to do that. He's pitching really well.
Yeah, he's got 4 years left, 18, 18, 24. That's not unreasonable.
Well, they're not paying it.
No, they're not. It's not unreasonable just in general. The Guardians not paying it. So, no, if I'm only in the end, I think if I'm getting Kikuchi, I'm not trading Gavin Williams because
they probably could do it without giving him up because you're right. A lot of these deals get done without giving up the number 1 guy. It's other guys, but you have to have a pitching prospect in there somewhere. Yeah, more than likely.
Who's their best pitching prospect right now? Beyond that, Joey Cantillo.
Is Espino still? Does he still count?
Espino's had too many injuries.
I don't think anybody.
Teams aren't going to touch him. Not as the anchor to a trade.
But Chase DeLauder is a highly thought of prospect.
Yes.
And if you traded him, whoever that best pitching prospect besides Gavin Williams is, whoever they think, if you said to the Blue Jays essentially, we'll trade you Chase DeLauder, whichever one of our shortstop prospects you like the most, whichever one of our pitching prospects besides Gavin Williams you like the most. Yeah. I know they wouldn't present.
Can I ask one question real quick on this?
Yeah, and then a 4th guy. Let's go.
So obviously the draft is coming up next month.
Yes.
Guardians have the top pick. This deal most likely won't get done, if anything comes to fruition, until the deadline because obviously Toronto's still in the mix. How does the draft and where the Guardians fit into the draft?
Doesn't.
You can't trade.
Has no impact.
You can't trade. Oh.
No, not draft picks, but obviously
the player. They're not going to trade that guy.
No,
not the number 1. But let's say they took Alex Clemmie, the pitcher, the left-handed 6'7" lefty from Rhode Island High School last year. Like I don't know where he is in the progression of his
Yeah,
But another guy, like say they draft a pitcher with the first pick in the second round, wherever they pick in the second round.
they could trade
like,
that
does
guy.
that add up to enough to maybe?
I think they have enough.
Give it a more
I don't think
salvageable
they
package
have
from
to
a
trade
pitching
Gavin
standpoint?
Williams. Again, if you were getting, let's say Barrios only had 2 years left.
Yeah.
They were eating the money, then maybe you'd have. But I'm trying to get Kikuchi or even Bassett. You're not going to have to give up Gavin Williams in a trade like that. Obviously, you have to give up something to get something. Bichette's a hell of a player.
He's very
They're not going to
good.
give him away.
I kind of look at Bichette like Castellanos when he was in Detroit. Castellanos is having a terrible year
right
with the Tigers.
And then he went.
But he was in a terrible situation. He was on a bad team.
Yep.
They weren't winning. But you get a move into a pennant contender,
That's right.
and it just jolts you.
Yes.
And
Well,
then Castellanos had a great finish with, I think, the Reds.
Who would cost more, Bo or Lindor?
Oh, Bo. By a lot.
Bo, because of the contract.
The Mets would love to get rid of Lindor, I think.
Well,
That's crazy.
After what I sent you, that man sat there and just took like.
I did not like that. I don't know what happened.
Something was going on there.
I will say this. I think if the Guardians could get Lindor back, and obviously the Mets would have to eat a huge chunk of that contract, I think he would play great here.
I agree.
I think he would bounce back.
I don't think they would eat that much. I mean, that was a monster
Yeah, it's too
deal.
much.
They would have to
Lindor has, not including this year.
There's no way.
He's
Bo.
got
Holy
7 years left at $34 million a year.
I mean,
that
they would have
contract's
to-
going to be a disaster.
They would have to eat 3/4 of that. Legitimately.
Yes.
They'd
I was
have
going to say
eat
they'd have to eat about 20-something million a year,
They'd have to eat $250 million of the 340,
which is
That is absurd.
and they would never do that.
yeah.
There'd be no point.
Don't say never.
Hey, if you could get Lindor back and you only had to pay $10 million a year for the next 7 years, would they do it?
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. That's
The
a
Mets are not
no-brainer.
going to eat $24 million.
No, they are not. No, they are not.
You can dream though, but the Bichette thing definitely has legs if the Blue Jays fall out of it.
I think so. He's a phenomenal talent. He fits
Yeah.
perfectly in a position of need.
Right.
Bat him in the middle of the order right away.
Yeah.
And then the way it's trending, I think Jimenez is ultimately going to be the shortstop here. It's easier to fill second than it is short. And maybe it might, who knows, it might be Tyler Freeman in 2 years. If
Yeah.
Freeman's bat continues to develop,
Right.
you can go find another center fielder, put Freeman back in his natural position.
I mean, we are talking about the
I
Guardians
know,
here.
I know. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
shortstop has been such a difficult spot for them
It
to
has.
fill.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it very well may wind up being Jimenez. But Bichette would buy you 2 years to figure out if Brito, you're right, Brito might be included in the trade in that type of hypothetical. If they hold on to him, Brito might be the answer at second base, Himmy at short, and leave Freeman in center or whatever. But you have a bona fide all-star shortstop again and a bat in the middle of the order for the next 2 postseasons because this team's ready to go.
Yeah.
They're not that far away.
No,
they need help,
and that's
but
why
they're
they
not
need
that
to.
far away.
That's why the Guardians have to be aggressive because you talk about why they haven't been the last few. Well, last year I understood what they did. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Jay was aggravated. I understood what they did.
I applauded it. The Savali trade, you mean? Like Galen?
Yeah.
I thought it was the right move.
2 years ago, I understand why they weren't that aggressive that year even because it felt like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
This is less out of nowhere. Now, there is some level of obvious surprise because the roster individually doesn't add up to as well as they're playing. But it's close enough and they're playing well enough that the organization, and when I say organization, I mean ownership, owes it to them to commit to the payroll, which they haven't done the last few years, to raise the payroll and give this team a chance to legitimately compete. Because honestly, the Yankees and the Orioles, to me, are the only teams that are very good in the American League. Everybody else is kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
So
and I mean the Yankees look really, really good right now. But it's
I've been counting them out for the last couple of years, and I've been right. Unlike with the Steelers, I've been right about the Yankees. I counted them out again this year, and I look wrong. Interestingly enough, I think was it Matt Blake, who was with the Guardians pitching.
He's their pitching coach.
He's their pitching coach now. And all these other pitchers have pitched better this year.
Their ERA is like it's almost like Garrett Cole doesn't even fit, which is insane.
But
if you look at their ERAs and the way it's
I know it's been great. Go ahead.
We got one more Guardians topic to touch on, guys, but a quick reminder tonight. I know it's Tuesday, not Monday, but G. Bush is back with an Ultimate Brown show that is airing tonight at 5 o'clock, so make sure you guys tune in. I don't know what it's about. All I know is the title, of G's show is, quote, not as advertised, the real truth behind the Deshaun Watson trade. So make sure you guys tune in to G. Bush's Ultimate Brown Show tonight at 5 o'clock.
G. Bush, at least once every other week, has a podcast that's the real truth about something. I love it.
He know how to get you to click on it.
He does, man.
I love G. I
pro
think
at
he's
it.
told us the real truth about the Deshaun Watson trade 83 times.
That is true, the real
I
truth.
wonder what the real truth of the real truths are. Speaking of the real truths, Bull,
Yeah.
you were in Erie this weekend, right? That's where Lake County plays?
Erie. That's
East Lake.
Pennsylvania.
East Lake, sorry. East Lake. I know
It was in
started with
East
E.
Lake, Ohio. It's not that
You were
far
in East
away.
Lake. My bad. Brain fart. You
He's
saw
not
Steven
from
Kwan
here.
and Tugboat with the captains.
I did.
You could give us the whole – we're going to talk about Tyler Freeman, where he fits in the lineup when
Yeah.
Kwan returns, after you tell us about your experience at the Lake County Captains game.
So first I'll talk about on the field. I went to the game to see – I mean, I was taking my son and his buddy to – I wanted to take them to a minor league game so they get a good view up close. But I really wanted to see Stephen Kwan, and it was good to see him. He led off for the Captains. He played – I want to say they pulled him in the top – I can't remember now if they pulled him in the top of the 6th or the 7th. I think they pulled him in the top of the 7th. But he got 3 at-bats. His first at-bat, hard ground out to first base. His second at-bat, he popped out to left field. But his third at-bat, he absolutely smoked one. As I think this is it, right? Yeah, this is it.
That's the home run, correct.
He smoked one to right center field. It was a 3-run shot. It actually gave the Captains the lead. You'll see them when he scores. They were going crazy, even though it's minor leagues. They guys still want to win. They were pretty pumped. They blew the lead the next half inning, by the way, and then they came back and won. But this ball was a bolt, Jason, off his bat. And while I didn't get to see Kwan run the bases because he was out his first 2 times and homered his third time, so there was no, real base stealing.
Yeah.
He had to hustle it out of the box for his first at bat because he grounded out the first, and there was a chance he could beat it out. Not likely, but a chance. So he was hustling down the first, and he played left field in that game. I know he DH'd Sunday. I wasn't at that game, and he didn't have a lot of action in left field, but he looked fine. I didn't see there was no
limps or
nothing to me that I noticed in terms of a limp or anything.
Well, he wouldn't be
dealing
out
with
there
that
on the
hamstring.
field if he's limping. He better
Yeah,
not be.
well, that's true. Fair point. Now, with a hamstring, as you know better than anybody, Tyvus, that can go, a lot of times a player feels totally better, and then the first time he really busts it, he pulls it again. Once you pull your hamstring, it's always more vulnerable for the time, for a while going forward. But everything I saw Saturday looked great. Kwan was great with the fans. The place was packed. I'm sure it's usually pretty empty there. It was packed because everybody wanted to see Stephen Kwan play, and he did. And the home run was he just smoked that ball.
Well, the good news about this situation is the Guardians have been playing fine, so it's like
better than fine. They've been playing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ain't got to rush it. Like he don't need to rush to get back if he's not 100% ready.
Right.
Yet. And they don't have to. Kwan, we need you to hurry up. Like that don't have to be the thing. It can be truly, how do you feel? Do you feel good? All right. When you take off, do you feel any tweaks? No. All right, cool. And then we can ease him back into this lineup. But if you saying right now that he was able to run around and he was fine in the left field and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Only thing that I question is when he makes contact, getting down to first base, and if he feels good after that, is he still confident he can make those steals?
Right, busting it out of the box, stealing bases, running the
like
bases. We didn't see that. I can't remember. I can't remember Sunday what he did, but I mean
I think he had 1 hit Sunday.
Okay. Well, he was off yesterday, and then today and tomorrow he's playing for Columbus. He'll be off Thursday because both Columbus and the Guardians are off Thursday, and then the Guardians come home and have a series this weekend with the Nationals. So I would assume he'll be back in the lineup on Friday against Washington. That's my assumption.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
And I thought he'd be ready even after just a couple of games in Lake County.
What
but I
is
get it.
But as Tyvus said, they're playing great. Maybe they don't want to rush him. Maybe they don't want to throw him on a plane for 3 hours.
Well, there's a bit of a difference between high A pitching and major league pitching. So you probably want to get him at least a couple at bats of Triple A pitching. So that part of it makes sense.
And the Nationals are like AAA.
So what do you think Stephen Vogt does with Tyler Freeman in the lineup when Kwan returns? Because since taking over the leadoff spot, and Stevie, take this graphic full, he's had 13 games in the leadoff spot. He's hitting .333, 6 doubles, 8 RBIs, on-base percentage of nearly 440. He's been really impressive since being moved into the leadoff spot. That's obviously where Kwan has been maybe as good as any player in baseball from the leadoff
Kwan's
spot.
the leadoff hitter. There's no discussion.
So what do you do with Tyler Freeman?
I think they're going to move him lower in the lineup. But when I say lower, like towards the bottom, I don't know that I wouldn't consider batting him too.
I've said all year I think he should be batting second. I like him.
Ain't Jimenez second?
He can move around, and I do like Jimenez up toward the top of the order.
Yeah,
but there's only so many spots to go around, and Jose's not batting lower than 3.
No,
so it is what it is.
I don't know. If you put Freeman 2, put Jimenez in the 5 spot behind Naylor, it lengthens out the lineup a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you get Bichette, then you're really lengthening the lineup.
Then Bichette's 5.
Then Bichette's 5.
Bichette's also a righty, by the way, which one thing we missed in that whole conversation.
Yeah,
it's a righty power bat. Which they don't have.
Which they could use. Now, I talked about this with Zach yesterday. He doesn't think there's any chance Bo Naylor's going to the minors, no matter how much he struggles offensively. It's funny that he's all of a sudden become this elite pitch framer, which you never thought of him for his defense, and he struggled with like blocking balls early in the year, and they're like, we don't want to mess with it because he's helping the pitchers. So they're not going to send him down even with the struggles. But he did have 2 hits yesterday. Maybe he can get going offensively.
Yeah.
We'll see. Obviously, David Fry's done a great job.
He's got Sandy Alomar, Austin Hedges, and Stephen Vogt to tutor him. He better be good defensively.
Right.
I mean, not that Vogt was an elite defensive guy, but still, someone who played the position.
Right.
He better be.
Yeah, but I think the idea of Freeman batting 2 and lengthening some of the proven hitters.
I like him as
a good idea.
I think Tyler Freeman. I know he's not there yet, but I think he'll be a career 280 hitter. He's a guy who just rolls out of bed and puts the bat on the ball, knows how to barrel the ball. I think he's an ideal number 2 hitter in baseball. He's sort of a throwback, old school number 2 hitter, not a ton of power.
You know who he's like?
But a great hit and run guy.
You know who I thought of when you were saying that, and then you said old school? Remember Tom Herr from the St. Louis Cardinals?
I do, yeah.
He had like 1 year had 100 RBIs
with like 4 home runs or 5 home runs.
I think it was a little more than that, but I don't even think it was 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was you had Vince Coleman leading off.
Yep.
And then you had Tom Herr, and then you had I think Lonnie Smith would hit third, Jack Clark would back cleanup. So
question about the shortstop.
Yeah.
Who's the better hitter, Gabby or Rocchio?
I mean, neither right now. But I still think it's Arias. I still think Arias is the better player all the way around. I know there's very little evidence of that right now. It's in there. I know it's in there. I don't know if it'll ever come out, but it's in there.
I have no interest in watching either of them play right now.
I know it's frustrating.
You know who you sound like? B with Elijah Moore last year football. Sitting there, I seen it. I seen it. I'm telling y'all.
Honestly,
Arias has an electric bat and a cannon for an arm, but he just can't ever put it together. And when you got in-house media being critical of his preparation and some of the plays that he makes, that's when you really go, oh boy, this guy's on thin ice. But it's in there. And there was a time where he was the guy. He was above.
You might believe him more than him right now.
Well, if they could get the way Freeman's playing, if they can get Naylor going and make a trade for Bichette or another proven shortstop, Will Brennan's fine against righties in right field.
Silly Willie.
I don't love him, but it is what it is. You're not going to fill all your holes.
You can't fill all your holes. I can live with it. With David Fry filling the gaps.
That's my boy.
Some at catcher, some at DH, some at first base, some in the outfield.
Yeah. It's incredible how versatile he is. How many catcher/outfield combinations do you see?
That's the
exactly.
That's my
and he
MVP
continues to get on
there.
base. They had a stat on the broadcast. Was it yesterday? I can't remember now if it was yesterday or the day before. They had a stat on the broadcast about his on-base percentage at this point in the season being over 500.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only, I think, the 4th Guardians player ever.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, it was like him, Jim Thome,
right.
and like
it was
two
all
other
great
people.
players.
Yeah.
This deep into the season, it's
With
really
No,
incredible.
it was like his first 114 plate appearances
right,
or something
whatever
like
the number was. Yeah, that's what it was. And it's been remarkable, and you got to find him at bats.
Yeah.
What's your gut reaction?
Yeah.
Do the Guardians make a trade at the deadline?
Yes.
I think they will. Now, will they make a trade. Will they make one as big as we want them to? I don't know. But they'll do something.
If they do, you should really get excited because it's a signal that the front office believes in this. Because as you mentioned, the last few years they've sat idle or even sold because they'll tell you without telling you how they really feel about the roster and where they are in the contention window. If they push the button on a deal like they did in 2016, get excited because that means that everybody in the organization believes that
they owe it to the fans, they owe it to the players, they owe it to the manager who's done such a great job.
Yeah. And by the way, like we haven't mentioned this at all. Terry Francona was one of the highest paid managers in the game. I think he may have been the highest paid manager.
Right. Stephen Vogt
is not.
No.
So that's
They got some more dollars.
that's some money in the couch right there
That's
that
true.
you can go make a move with.
That's true.
And they did cut the payroll, and I don't want to get into it now, but Major League Baseball supplements a decent.
That's right.
chunk.
They have money to spend.
Yes.
And nobody's asking them to spend $50 million.
Right.
We're asking them to spend $10, $20 million. And that's not crazy.
And it's prorated. It's not
Right.
even.
Right.
If Bichette's making $17 million, if you get him at the end of July, you got 2 months of that.
If you got Bichette, Kikuchi, and Yimi Garcia, let's go crazy. They're making about $30 million between them. 32. All right, you're paying for half of that. That's $16 million.
Less
they
than
could've-
half.
Right,
No, they could
right.
do that.
Well, it depends when they make the
I
trade.
can't tell
but-
people what
It won't be. I don't believe it'll be until the close to the deadline.
Okay, so if it's right by the deadline, well, then you're paying $12 million, $13 million.
When
for
is the
rest of it.
deadline?
July 31st.
The end of July. And what a difference that would make. If you added a savvy veteran in Kikuchi, a guy who's been in the playoffs before, and just a stud in Bichette, and a nice veteran relief pitcher, oh, man, that would be fantastic. This team's good,
Yeah.
but they could be special with a few additions, I believe. Go ahead, Mike.
All right, guys, we're going to pivot, talk a little Cavs here after a quick word from FanDuel. It is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Over the weekend,
Did everybody see the picture of Jason in jail here?
yeah, we got that tweeted at us. Shout out.
Yeah.
We'll put it in tag board. Don't hang it. We'll put it in tag board. Hold on.
Oh,
But we'll put it in
okay.
tag board for the end of this topic
Putting it in
here.
tag board? Okay, sorry.
But over the weekend, we had a couple more names get linked to the Cavs' open head coaching job. The latest two, Terry Stotts, former coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and Johnny Bryant, who is an assistant head coach with the New York Knicks right now. He worked with Donovan Mitchell closely in Utah. He's well regarded around the league as a player developmental coach. He joins the list of Kenny Atkinson, James Borrego, and Dave Yeager as guys who national media pundits have tied to the Cavs coaching search. Atkinson and Borrego seem to be the two favorites at the moment, but these are 5 names who have now been tied to the Cleveland. Jason, I'll start with you. We'll start with the 2 new names, and we can even start with Bryant because you kind of poked the bear on that this weekend. What do you know about Bryant? What do you like about Bryant? And then we'll do Terry Stotts next.
If it were to be Bryant, it feels like a Donovan hire, right? Because he spent time with him in Utah.
Yep.
Got along well. He's done a really nice job with the Knicks. He's, I believe, the associate head coach of the Knicks.
He is the associate.
Yeah, so he's Thibodeau's sort of right-hand man on that. And we'll see. I mean, Kenny Atkinson still seems to be like the leader in the clubhouse. Doesn't mean he's necessarily going to get the job, but anyone you talk to right now, it's sort of pointing to that. Even I was told Atkinson's sort of doing work on the Cavs in terms of structure and leadership and ownership and that sort of thing. So all signs are pointing that way, but I don't know that there's much of a relationship. Maybe there is that I'm not aware of between Atkinson and this front office and ownership group. So it's very much a getting to know you period. I think they're casting a wide net still. They want to talk to a lot of people. This is a good opportunity to meet with a lot of coaches. You don't often get this type of chance to meet with this many different type of people, and you never know, even if it's not a head coach, maybe you can find a spot on your staff for somebody, if it's a promotion, if it's somebody currently employed, or whatever, somebody who's not employed, bring them on. So it's a good opportunity for the organization just to network and see who's out there and see what's available. So I think it's a good idea to take advantage of this and don't necessarily rush down the altar with the first one. Talk to as many different people as you can. Kobe mentioned at the end of season presser that he felt, and I'm sort of paraphrasing, that he didn't think that they'd have a coach in place by the draft, which may mean that it's sort of a Donovan thing where let's wait and see what happens with Donovan. Because what you don't want is you don't want to do what they did in 2014 where they rushed out, hired David Blatt, and then LeBron comes back, and now you've got this coach that doesn't match your roster and your intentions. So there's really no reason. The only other team that's looking for a head coach right now is the Lakers and the Wizards, but they don't count. They're in a different they're in a different place right now than what you're looking for with this job. So it's not like you're going to miss out, more than likely, especially if the Lakers go the Redick route. So you can take your time on this. You can let free agency play out a little bit, and you can see the type of roster you're going to have and then match the coach accordingly.
Jason, what I wanted to know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm thinking well, whether or not Donovan stays is a big factor.
Yeah.
Like Johnny Bryant, if they're going to bring in Johnny Bryant because they think he gives them a better chance, do you think the Cavs know? Does Dan Gilbert, does Kobe Altman know right now whether or not Donovan is willing to sign that extension? Sure.
I don't think it's not 100% until
it's on the paper.
It's on the paper.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Pen on the paper.
But I think they feel pretty good right now that he's coming back.
So are they more likely to go, hey, we know Donovan loves this guy. We like him. Maybe he's not our first choice. Maybe he's our second choice, but Donovan loves him. So we should go that way, right? I mean, that's got to factor in.
It's worth a conversation 100% for sure.
But
it's worth at least having a conversation.
I don't like that either. But unless the guy, if the guy's a total clown, you're not going to hire him.
I mean, the Bucks. The Bucks hired a total clown for Giannis. And he lasted half a season.
But Johnny Bryant has never been a true head coach. He's always been an assistant, right?
Yeah.
So you're rolling the dice with that then.
Well, you are, but I would also if you get the right guy, you get the right guy. And I caution to say this because LeBron was on the team, so he makes every coach better. Cavs won a championship with a guy who never coached before as a head coach in Ty Lue, and he was phenomenal. He was exactly what they needed. Came in at the exact right time. Probably should have been even earlier. And yes, LeBron led that championship, but Ty was instrumental in those playoffs to that championship.
Do we have a LeBron-esque player?
No. And that's why I cautioned him. But I'm just saying, you took a guy with no previous head coaching experience, and he nailed it. And he was exactly what they needed.
If LeBron would have been on this Cavs team just for this playoff run, would they still be in it right now?
Probably.
See?
You think so? This age, LeBron?
Yeah. I am not. I'm so mad at Boston.
But he got swept. LeBron.
Yeah, look who he played. That Denver team was.
They technically won a game. Give them credit.
Well, they did.
Oh, they did. It was a gentleman's
yeah,
sweep.
they did. And Lakers were up. The Lakers probably should have won that series. As insane as that
Jamal
sounds.
Murray hit 2-game winners in that series, didn't he?
Lakers easily could have won that series, and I know they didn't. But I mean, LeBron is still a force. I don't care how old he is. He's still a force.
Maybe I'm fearing the unknown. Maybe that's my thing.
And you could miss.
Ty, on the flip side, the two guys that at least were most recently linked are Johnny Bryant, who has no head coaching experience, and Terry Stotts, who's been a head coach for over a decade. He led Portland from 2012
He get you excited?
to 2021.
No.
What does Terry Stotts do for you,
He had
Babs?
Dame Lillard. I feel like outside of that.
Yeah, what'd Portland do? With
They
the small
did.
backcourt?
Portland
What'd they
didn't
ever
did
do?
anything.
It's funny. Whenever a team's looking for a coach, we spend so much time talking about it, analyzing it. And the reality is that whether the guy has experience or not, you never know if he's going to be the right fit for your team until it happens. Otherwise, teams wouldn't get it as wrong as often as they do.
That's what we said last week. You don't know until you know.
That's right.
And then it's too late. One way or the other.
To be honest, if it came down to those two right there, I'd pick Johnny Bryant.
I would too. Because the unknown is sexier than the
That's
known.
what it is.
And the known might be better because maybe he learned from that and
and
could be a better coach.
yes.
But we're always more excited about maybe this guy's the next great coach, Johnny Bryant.
Of all the names, and I'm not thrilled with it. Like, I don't get excited over any of these names, if I'm being honest. But, you give me that list of names that's been out there, I'll take Borrego over all the rest of them.
Because
what's his name? The guy from the Heat?
Oh, Chris
Quinn.
Quinn.
I think Chris could be a really good NBA coach. But
Chris
again, it goes back to the unknown, and this team is primed to win right now.
Did Borrego get the Hornets to the playoffs?
He did not know.
No, they were.
That whole organization is a mess. They are a total mess.
Well, it's
top to bottom.
It's Michael's fault.
Oh.
He got it up.
Stops
and he
with
said,
ownership.
you know what? I got me $1 billion. I brought it up $1 billion. I'm out.
Yeah.
Peace.
Michael Jordan is the Anthony Bennett of owners.
Oh, my goodness.
It is crazy when you look at the list of head coaches who got hired last offseason as opposed to the list of candidates this offseason. Not saying any of these guys can't turn out to be great. Borrego, Atkinson, Yeager, Stotts, Bryant, Chris Quinn, whoever. They could turn out to be the next all-time great NBA head coach. Who knows? But you go back just one season ago on the list of candidates who were being considered for jobs were Ime Udoka, who's an elite top tier NBA head coach. A guy like Doc Rivers, who ended up waiting and signing with Milwaukee, who has championship experience. Budenholzer, same thing. Fired, had a chance. Just a very
Budenholzer
different.
just got hired.
But he was fired last season.
And
He sat out.
I thought everybody thinks Doc Rivers sucks.
They're big. I would not want Doc Rivers.
I wouldn't.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying the list of you're looking at guys with a much more proven track record, especially in the postseason, as opposed to this year. It's a lot of guys with unknowns. I don't think anyone's really.
But
A
maybe
known
that's the
commodity.
reason there's not a lot of coach openings. The teams decided to stick with some of their coaches because there's not maybe great.
You could do what who didn't the Nets trade for Doc Rivers? Wasn't that the Nets that did that? Somebody traded
sound
for
familiar.
a coach. Who traded for a coach? It was
wasn't
like,
the Nets.
The Clippers traded for Doc from Boston.
is that who
Yes.
it was? I knew it was
Yes.
Doc.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting they do that, but
No.
So big picture before we move on. None of these guys so far. We kind of heard Jason say he doesn't love Stotts as a potential candidate. Bryant's the unknown dude. Bull and Diamond.
I would be disingenuous if I said I was excited or not excited. I don't know enough about any of these guys. I've heard you guys talk about him. I've heard other people talk about him. Who knows? My uneducated opinion on it is I'm interested in Johnny Bryant and the guy from Miami whose name I keep forgetting.
Chris Quinn.
And Atkinson, I do remember he did a really great job, I thought, with a Nets team that everybody thought was going to be the worst team in the league, and they were very competitive and feisty. So those names sound interesting to me. But I have no idea.
Dave Yeager's a good coach. I wouldn't hate that one either.
I don't like people that names sound like letters that are not in their name. I got a problem with those type of people.
I would be fine if it's Kenny, James, Chris. That's probably the three that
like they're your best friends. Call them by their first names, all these guys.
Maybe I do know him. I know Chris Quinn's father.
All right, we're gonna pivot to a trip down memory lane. I think is the best way to describe it. No, I just wanted to phrase it right because it's about a specific play in Cleveland lore that I'm not sure gets the love it deserves.
Yeah.
And if you want to see moments like we're about to show you on the biggest stage in basketball, in the NBA Finals, there's no better place and no easier way to get tickets than online with the Game Time app. Game Time makes getting NBA's Finals tickets even faster and easier than before, and prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. I've personally used Game Time to buy Guardians tickets, Cavs tickets. I bought them for a concert last year. It makes it so easy. It takes the guesswork out of it. And their priority deals make Game Time the only place you should be looking to buy your tickets online. Game Time has priority last-minute deals that can save you up to 60% on buying last-minute tickets. They have flash deals and zone deals. All-in pricing is a feature that shows you the total up front with no surprise fees. At checkout, you can see a panoramic view from your seat on the app before you buy, plus their lowest price guarantee. Make sure Game Time credits you 110% of the difference if you can find a cheaper ticket online. So take all the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL, just like you see it on the screen, for $20 off your first purchase, LOCKEDONNFL. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So on Friday, Luka Doncic hit a shot over Rudy Gobert that was seen and heard around the world by everyone but Adam the Bull. Adam the Bull did not see it.
I actually did, now that I think about it, because wasn't that the shot where he said, "You can't guard me"?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you missed it, and let's play tag board. Let's see Luka hit a shot over Rudy Gobert, the Defensive Player of the Year, to seal a Game 2 victory for the Dallas Mavericks. Absolutely beautiful. Which then got me to think, that's the Defensive Player of the Year. Luka just torched him. Does Kevin Love stop? And here's another angle of this, by the way. Just absolute perfection from Luka. But this made me go back and think about the 2016 NBA Finals. Does Kevin Love stop?
He carried that ball for like a minute.
Steph Curry. And here's the play. Get anywhere near enough overall love and attention as it deserves. When you think about the finals, you think about the block, you think about Kyrie's shot. But this play on the reigning MVP, the greatest three-point shooter in the history of the league, Kevin Love, who is not known for his defensive prowess, stays right in front of Steph, forces him into a tough shot. I know, Jason, you were there. But does this individual play get the recognition it deserves for how incredible of a defensive effort this was from Kevin Love?
I actually think it does, at least locally. I mean, Dan Gilbert was the first one that sort of coined it, the block, the shot, and the stop, and that obviously is the stop. The most impressive part about that is he did it twice. Like, they let Steph get the ball back. So Kevin, I guess you could say, locked him up, or Kevin at least guarded him well there the first time. Steph gets rid of it and then gets it right back, and oh my God, Kevin's got to do it again. Easily the worst defender on the floor for the Cavs.
It was amazing.
And you know,
Clickety.
you know Steph's going to shoot a three in that instance, so I don't know that you necessarily, if Kevin's really fearing that he's going to blow by him, at least you think he's going to take a three. So you have that luxury, if you want to call it that. It was. I remember Lee Jenkins did a story on Kevin after that, and Kevin said he blacked out during those 8 seconds that Steph's
funny.
got the ball. He just sort of blacked out. It was a memorable night. It was an incredible night. I was thrilled to be there.
Yeah.
And it was a great play by Kevin.
What did he not get enough credit? He got the worst contract in Cavs history after that. Of course he got enough credit.
I just don't feel like it's not remembered in the same revere.
Maybe
that
not
it should.
Because he
nationally.
wasn't as good as Kyrie, and he wasn't as good as LeBron.
But being good, some of the plays we're going to show you in a sec were not made by all-time great players. I just feel like that play was as significant.
I
as
think
them.
locally it is remembered and revered. Probably not nationally. Everyone remembers Kyrie's shot, and everybody remembers the block.
Of course. Because playing defense without blocking the ball is not going to ever, no matter who does it. But would you agree that that's the worst contract in Cavs history? The Kevin Love contract after that?
Tristan
Steve
Thompson. What did Tristan get?
No, the Sean Kemp contract was pretty brutal. If you want to go back, I don't remember the details, but that one was.
But we all
rough.
knew Kevin Love was done being a really good player, didn't we?
The Cavs overpaid. The Cavs
crazy.
gave him more than he would have gotten in free agency, but they wanted
Anyway.
they wanted someone to lead them through the rebuild.
It was an amazing
work out
play.
great.
I still can't believe to this day that he hung with Steph Curry on that play. Because he was terrible defensively.
He was terrible, but again, you're not really worried about Steph driving by you. Mike,
That's true.
Mike, what difference does that make as a defender when you're a big on a small, but you're not worried about him really taking you off the dribble? You know he's going to shoot a three. I think that
Yeah,
played
but
to
then why
Kevin's
doesn't
advantage.
then why is he shooting
Well, that
so
was
well
a very
then?
particular.
But he should. That's Steph's fault because it was 50 seconds left. You could go score two, be down
Yeah, but
one,
you're
play
Steph Curry.
defense.
If you're Steph Curry, you're shooting a three.
That's his fault. He shouldn't be predictable.
Am I off, Mike?
I mean, to answer your question, it certainly helps knowing, but also when you're trying to guard Steph Curry, or if you're a slower-footed defender guarding someone of the shiftiness of Steph, I think you're just hanging on for dear life. And Kevin Love saying he blacked out, and I'm not making a joke by this. Blacking out and not being able to think about it in the moment is the best thing that could have happened to Kevin Love, because you start thinking and trying to time your steps and moving laterally with Steph Curry as he's going forward, back, stop, start, he's screwed. And the fact that he blacked out and just let
Nature
just
take
let
its
it kind of
course.
happen. Let nature take its course is probably the best thing that happened to him. But I asked you guys, outside of that play, what other plays throughout Cleveland sports history may not get the love that they probably deserve as time passed on? And Jason sent us a bunch of these. So, Jason, you could start,
Thomas and I
we'll
were
run through
slacking on
yours,
this.
and then we'll get to
say
Bull
one.
and Davis's after.
Is there a particular order? Or you want me to just
Yeah,
start
we have it
rattling?
in an order. So how about we start with Steve, take this tag board full first, and Jason, you could walk us through all of these.
Which one you have? Okay, so the Sandy one. I was at this game. I was sitting in the auxiliary press box right out there in right field, and that place shook. So it's 2-1, I think, ninth inning, game
2-1,
4.
correct.
Indians are about to be eliminated by the Yankees in the ALDS. It's a best-of-5 series, and they're down in the ninth inning. They're down 2-1, and Sandy, out of nowhere, just hits this home run to tie the game.
Opposite field.
Yeah, the Indians go on. They win that game. They win the series, and they went from on the brink of elimination to going to the World Series that year. And the rule is you don't ever cheer in the press box. Everyone in that stood up. It was like, oh my! It was just such a thunderbolt type moment that nobody expected. And that was Sandy's just incredible storybook year in '97. He was named All-Star MVP. Hit a home run at Jacobs Field during the All-Star game that was here that year. Just a great, great year for Sandy. And that moment, I think a lot of people sort of forget it, but that was an unbelievable moment in Jacobs Field history. And just, again, it triggered a run to the World Series.
Bull, baseball trivia for you. Mariano Rivera allowed 2 playoff home runs in his career. You just saw one. Who hit the other?
Oh, boy. I'm going to say Luis Gonzalez.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
I was thinking the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, right?
Try to whistle the Jeopardy
Not
song.
coming to me.
Is it an Indians player?
It is not.
Barry
It did happen in a World Series, though. I'll narrow it down to a World Series.
Chipper Jones?
Incorrect.
Not
Jay
coming.
Payton in the Subway Series.
Oh, my God. I would never have
would've
guessed that.
I was thinking Padres. I was trying to think. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I
Sandy
found that when I was
Alomar
looking
and-
for that clip. That popped up. All right, Jason, the second play you sent us.
Yep.
Kenny Lofton. Run us through this one.
Huge 95 ALCS. Kenny on second base. Randy Johnson on the mound for the Mariners. Wild
unit.
pitch. Scores 2. I forget who was on third. I forget who scored from third on that. But Kenny scored all the way from second. You see the ball get away from Dan Wilson. It went farther than usual, and Kenny never stopped running. And there he comes in, shocks everybody to score from second base on a wild pitch, and that pretty much won the game for them.
That ballpark was a dump.
Yeah, it was the clinching game that sent them to their first World Series since '54.
What was the year that was it Seattle that they were playing? They was down like 12 runs or 14
Yes,
runs.
that was a regular
and
season
was regular
game,
season,
like
but yeah.
August.
That was
Yeah.
in 95?
No. That was like 98, 99, 2001, somewhere in there. But that was an unbelievable
incredible
moment
base
to
running.
score from. I mean, Randy didn't even know he was
didn't-
coming.
yeah.
Didn't even know he was coming. Kenny
Isn't it
never
funny that
stopped
he
running.
slid feet first?
Yeah.
You'd assume he slid head first,
first.
going home like that.
It's
but
an awesome clip, too, just to see Randy have no idea what's going
No.
on, and you can see down
How
the
is
third
nobody
baseline.
telling him on the team?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone saw him. I think Wilson was shouting to him as he threw the ball.
Yeah.
Because you saw Randy try and swipe tag at the last minute.
Yeah, that was a great
but
one.
I was in the newsroom of the Lorain Morning Journal that night, and it was like, all right, let's put the paper out. Cleveland's going to the World Series. That's pretty cool.
3 more from Jason. Next one, his lone play from the Browns. Jason, walk us through.
It's hard to come up with
Run, William,
plays. It's hard to come up with plays of the Browns over the last 20, 25 years. So I came up with Run, William, Run. Obviously, the great call from the great Jim Donovan. This was the touchdown run in the game that sent the Browns to the playoffs in 2002. And Jimmy screaming, "Run, William, run!" And who knew that after that it would be, 18 years before the Browns would ever have another postseason appearance. But that just a great call. The clip doesn't do it justice without listening. Jimmy's radio call is what sells that as just a great play. And William Green had been, he was a first-round pick back in the day, back when the NFL valued running backs and took him in the first round, running back out of Boston College. And it was close that whole game to breaking one, and finally broke one that day.
They don't say it
on
like
that play.
They just drafted a running back in the first round 2 years ago. A running back went first round.
Bijan
Robinson.
Okay, great.
Actually,
one.
two, because
Jameer Gibbs.
Or Gibson.
Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when half the first round was running backs. Or
Yeah.
6, 8, 10 guys were
This
running
new
backs.
day and age.
Speaking of running backs, Jason, your next one comes from a running back, except he was playing defense. Ant, Steve?
Oh, tell me this old state.
Oh, it is. Yeah. We've talked about this on the show before, but I was at this game too, covering it. 2002 National Championship game. Maurice Claret with the play of the game. That game looked like it was over. Krenzel throws an interception to Sean Taylor in the end zone.
It's Sean.
And out of nowhere, Maurice Claret steals the ball back. And it's still to this day, I'll fight anyone. That is the best football game in the history of the sport. It's the best game I've ever seen. It was
Easy.
unbelievable. I'm telling you, they were shooting off fireworks and Miami was celebrating on the field, and it wasn't over yet because there was a flag on the field. It was the most incredible game, and that is the biggest play from that game that hardly ever gets talked about. Maurice's football IQ was off the charts, and I think we talked to him about it on the show when we had him on about that play. It's burned into my memory. He was an unbelievable player his freshman year. He took college football by storm, played through the shoulder injury, and he was so smart. He had such a great feel for the game, but that play in particular, unbelievable awareness to take the ball back from a Hall of
Taylor.
Fame. Yeah, Hall of Fame.
Like, that's the part I knew about the strip, but then like one day I was going back, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Sean Taylor.
Right.
He did that too. Like that's crazy to
Craig
me.
Krenzel is the quarterback.
Craig Krenzel. He was the leading rusher in that game. Craig Krenzel was the leading rusher.
I did not remember that.
For Ohio State. He was Ohio State. I think McGahee had more yards.
every time I think about that
know.
game.
But
his
Krenzel,
knee was out the back of his leg.
Krenzel led Ohio State in rushing that game.
One more play Jason sent us.
Yeah.
This one he dug deep into the archive to find, and it's actually a great call. I remember watching this back when I was in high school. Not to make you feel old, Jason.
Oh,
but
my God. I was covering this one, too.
Oh, yeah. This is a hell of a shot from
Ron Lewis.
a guy in the Buckeyes.
Yeah,
who's largely
Ron
been
Lewis.
forgotten.
Ohio State against Xavier. Thad Matta against his old team. And Ohio State was going to lose. That was the team with Mike Conley and Greg Oden on it. And they were about to lose. And with 2 seconds left, Ron Lewis hit this. I mean, it seemed like a prayer three-pointer. I actually thought it was a lot farther than it was.
Yeah, it was.
But, I mean, just an incredible shot. Because he wasn't a star player. Like, it was Oden Conley and Daquan Cook were on that team.
Yeah, Daquan.
And Ron Lewis was like a fifth-year senior from Columbus, if memory serves, and just hit a monster shot that triggered a run to the Final Four in the national championship game because they went from the brink of elimination in the second round. That was the second round game at Kentucky.
Look
at Sean Miller. Look how young he looks there.
It was actually a pretty good look for 2 seconds left.
Yeah.
It was a great play. That's actually a great play.
They wore shorts that long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's 2000. I actually noticed that, too.
This is Allen Iverson's fault, right?
That was 2007, and they went to the Final Four and lost to that Florida team with Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Corey Brewer, coached by Billy Donovan. That was I covered all those games at that NCAA tournament. That was a great run.
That was the last year I think that a national championship for football and basketball was the same.
They beat Tennessee.
And
They beat Georgetown.
Both of them.
Yeah, they lost both of them. They lost the 06 title. They got their doors blown off by Florida.
And
then came back.
Hey.
We talked to Anthony Gonzalez about that game.
Hey.
The whole game plan was built around Ted Ginn.
Yeah.
And then Teddy goes out because Roy Hall tackles him in the end zone after the return to the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Out for the rest of the game, and the playbook went with them. The whole game plan went with them.
And last one, but Tyvis mentioned the Rajai Davis home run, which...
No, I mentioned
No, he mentioned
Oh, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Tyvis mentioned a DPJ
Although I don't think
catch.
it's an underrated moment, but I just like seeing it.
Well, let's play it one more time. We might as well. It's always fun to watch. And then we'll move on and talk a little Browns here. But Steve, take tag board, and Bull, walk us through the final play here.
I mean, this is one of the most
Look how much he's choked up on the bat.
One of the most unlikely things you'll ever see in sports. I mean, Aroldis Chapman, now, I know he'd been overworked in this series, but he was still in his prime. Mm-hmm. He was still throwing over 100 miles an hour. Rajai Davis was not a power hitter, didn't hit home runs.
Look how choked up he is. He's halfway up there.
And, I still can't believe that was a home run.
I know.
And the place was bonkers.
Yep.
If the Indians had won the World Series that year, that would have been the most legendary moment ever.
Yeah. He had his jersey retired.
I mean,
there were rain
such
delays.
a nice guy, Rajai, too.
And he loves talking about it. He'll talk about it all day.
Hey, I would argue, and I know people will be upset, because you could argue this was the greatest World Series of all time.
I totally agree.
I
totally agree.
And the Indians have played 3 pretty amazing World Series in our lifetime.
I mean, 97, Game 7, brutal.
Yeah.
But I think the 16 one was even better.
That series is, you talk about 2 teams that hadn't won in forever.
3-1, Cubs coming. I mean, no one wants to talk about it.
Wasn't you at that game?
I did not go.
I was at that game.
I couldn't be there.
I was at every one of those games except the Run William run, I think.
No.
I did the Ohio State title game.
You are old.
I did the basketball
I was
run.
saying the same thing, Ty.
I did. I was at the Rivera, the Sandy home run game.
You are really that old.
Yeah.
I was
in 97. I was 3, man.
Oh my God. I was 21. I was still in college, but I was working for the local newspaper. I didn't go to class like the whole month of October. I blew off.
I was at games 1, 4, and 5 of the 16 World Series, but I did not go to Game 7.
I was in the press.
You skipped class?
Oh, the whole month. The whole month. And I only covered the home games.
You know what? That's sad because me as a football athlete, I went to class every single day.
I never went.
I've never missed class except after I graduated. I started cutting classes because I had my degree already, so it was pointless.
I was laying
Why would you have to go to classes after you've already
graduated? Because you have to be eligible to play in the season. You have to have 6 credit hours to be able to be eligible. And if you want to play in the bowl game, you have to pass 6 credits. So I had 12, but I only needed 2 classes to pass. So a wise friend of mine said one day, I was sitting there, I had all these classes, I had like 3 of them online. and I was like not really paying attention to him because I was so focused on the season.
Yeah.
And Cardale Jones said to me, he said, why you worried about all these classes? You only need 6 to be bowl eligible. I said,
That's it.
Two of them classes I could care less.
And before, I forget now the details around it. Reggie Germany. Did you hear the Reggie Germany story?
No,
Remember Reggie?
Yeah.
Reggie Germany had a 0.0 GPA. 0.0. But he still played in the Outback Bowl because I guess the quarter fell after the bowl game, the way that it fell. He had a 0.0.
Isn't it laughable that they care about that? Or they did. I mean, now they don't.
Well,
I mean, the fall that I skipped the whole month of October, I had a 1.7 GPA. I mean, I got better after that, but I had a 1.7 G. I remember laying on my mom and dad's couch watching Game 7, and they lose, and I'm like, well, I got to go back to class now.
No more excuses.
No more excuses. I had a 1.7 GPA that first semester.
All right, Mike.
Well, we're lucky that Jason is here with us today because after some of the things that we've heard from Jason, and just in today's show alone, could end up with where Jason was in a sec. We had a tag board ready, then we switched to that. Come on. This was sent to us by our guy, C. Marsh. Whatever you want, Steve. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Whatever you want. This is a very, very funny Photoshop here, so shout out to C. Marsh to put Jason behind bars. Probably deservedly so.
3 hots and a cot.
Yeah, he doesn't
I
like
love that Jason's hands look like huge. And the rest
Hulk
of
hands.
and his head is huge, and the rest of his body is tiny.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is so funny.
So shout out to C. Marsh for that. If you're in the chat watching like C. Marsh is, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you guys. We're going to continue bringing you all the Browns, Guardians, and Cavs coverage we can over the next couple of months, weeks, and hopefully years. Speaking of the Browns Bowl, this came up quasi in conversation about 3 weeks ago. I've been saving this to bring it back. But if you look at the Cavs sack totals in 2023. The Browns sack total in 2023. Which player on the Browns do you believe has the best opportunity to increase the sack total, and by how much? So which Browns player will increase their sack total from 2023 to 2024 the most?
I'm going to go off the board here a little bit and go with Alex Wright. What did he finish with last year? 5, right?
Yeah, that was my pick. Great choice, Bo.
He had 5. You look at all the other guys here. JOK is a linebacker, had a great year. He's not going to get a ton of sacks. Ogbo, he could go up. Zadarius Smith has what did Zadarius finish with?
5.5.
So he's had 5.5 sacks in like his last 20-something games. So and he's old, so I don't expect his numbers to go up. Myles Garrett had 1 million sacks already. I mean, how much higher could he go up? Alex Wright, I think, has the most upside of any of the guys on the Browns defensive line because most of their other leading contributors are older guys. Alex Wright came on at the end of last year, and if you tell me who's the most likely guy to get double-digit sacks this year, besides Myles Garrett, of course, I'm going to tell you Alex Wright because I loved how he played at the end of the last season, and he's young and he's getting better. Their other defensive linemen outside of Ogbo are older guys. They're not getting better. They're either staying the same or getting worse. And I think he's really going to get an opportunity. If he performs as well early in the season this year as he did late in the season last year, he'll get a lot of reps. And I think he's going to I think he could get 10 sacks this year, which would double his number. So I'm going Alex Wright.
Can I throw you a curve?
Yeah.
Myles Garrett.
That is a curve. What did he finish with?
14.
14.
That's not. If he can get more than that.
You know what? I was thinking he had more than that. In my mind, he had 18.
No, he had 14.
Because he was on pace and then he crapped the bed.
He had 16 in back-to-back seasons prior to last year. We've talked at length on the show about how he tends to fade in the second half of seasons. He did have the shoulder.
Should he have really been the defensive player of the year? I'm just going to piss people off.
I don't have the bandwidth for that right now.
I just don't know how you don't play well in December and you win Defensive Player of the Year. But anyway, I love Myles Garrett, so let it go.
But with 14 sacks,
overdue.
he can do better than 14 sacks. And with the shoulder injury that he had, we don't know how much it limited him over the last month or so of the season, or however many weeks it was. 14 is a very – because at first, I was actually thinking JOK at first.
Yeah.
And then I kind of looked at the totals. I'm like, 14, that's not That's not that many for Miles.
Yeah.
It's obviously a lot.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about Miles, he can do better than that. Give me Miles Garrett.
I mean, he can get 18, 19,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Bull, you picked out, and Thomas, you go in a second, but Bull picks Alex Wright to go 5 to 10 for the same jump. It's 14 to 19. That's not out of the question. For
No,
Miles
it's not.
Garrett.
I don't know why in my mind I was thinking he had more, but.
Tyvis, what's your answer?
Oh, stolen.
No.
Sione Ika?
Hey, all he need is one. All he need is
Tommy Togiai.
No, I was.
All he needs is a half.
Your
a
answer.
quarter.
Your
an
answer
eighth.
is a cop out.
No, it's not.
I like your
How
answer.
is that a cop out?
It's a cop out.
The man asked the question: who's going to go up?
That he's not even in the conversation. Like it's. We talking about it's Miles and the Pips. We talking about the Pips. Right now. We ain't talking about.
Well, that was not specified in the
Well,
question.
you should have known.
No,
like,
Miles Garrett, that's a fine answer.
Thank you.
That is legal,
stop
yes.
it.
By the way, speaking of, did you see the first Equalizer movie with Denzel?
Yes.
Remember when those two teenagers that work in the store, and he's like, "What did you do before you worked here?" And he goes, "I was one of the Pips." You don't remember that?
Yeah.
And then they start looking at Soul Train videos. Is that him? Is that? Anyway, go ahead, Tom.
He did do that. That's funny. Yeah. I'm going with Ogbo. Ogbo because, like I said, he missed some games last year and he had 4.5 sacks. Just off of that alone, I think that he will increase his sack numbers. I think he's a really good pass rusher, and he's a guy that really only comes in on obvious passing downs, which means that he can pin his ears back. The difference between him and Alex Wright is Alex Wright being on other type of downs where he has to play the run first, where Ogbo, they're not really asking him to play the run. They're telling him to get after the quarterback, and that's what he's going to be in there doing. So I think that with that being the case, I think his pass rush moves is really good. I think they're very effective, and I think that he'll get, what do you have, 4.5? 5.5? What did he have?
He had 4.5, but he missed.
Yeah,
the last
so
four games of the
I just
season.
think easily he'll get 5 easily because he did that even when he missed games, and I think he's a premier passer.
So how many do you think he's going to get this year?
He gonna get more than 4.5. That was the question.
No, but you said the most.
Yeah, it's not who's going to have more sacks. It's who's going to increase their total the most.
Who's going to increase?
Him. I think it's him.
Okay.
Well, going from 4.5 to 5 is not. You don't think anyone's going to have more than half a sack?
I
more?
think that he'll get 8 to 9, something like 9
so
sacks.
right in that same range.
9 sacks.
Can I make the case for JOK real quick?
He ain't getting 7.
I don't think it's the right answer. But can I just make the case
Yeah,
for JOK?
Go ahead.
They signed Jordan Hicks. We saw after him being, and by him I mean JOK, being a non-factor in the pass rush in 2022 under Joe Woods, Jim Schwartz, towards the end of the season, and especially that Jacksonville game, and against Chicago as well, started utilizing JOK as the extra free rusher. And there was the one play that Tyvis broke down for us against Denver in Week 12, where it was a play-action rollout. Russell Wilson didn't see it coming, Tyvis. And remember, he jumped the gap thinking it was a run play, ended up with the sack.
Yes.
I could see that happening more than just twice next season, on top of him getting a couple extra opportunities as a pass rusher in blitzing situations. He had 3.5 sacks. I expect all those numbers you see on the screen to go up next year. I don't think it's crazy for JOK to have 7-8 sacks next year. I don't think it's crazy.
I don't think it is either. That was my initial.
Yeah, I think that's pushing it a little bit.
I mean,
but,
I don't know about higher than 3.5.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's not the biggest jump.
Well, that's why I said I'm not
Well,
making
it could be. It's not necessarily. Just because we're predicting guys to get 5 more or 4 more doesn't mean that anybody's going to get that many more.
That's true. And who's going? The question is, who signs their extension first, him or Kevin Stefanski?
I would assume Kevin
Kevin.
Stefanski.
You would
but who
think.
knows?
We
yeah,
still
Kevin.
waiting.
It'll be Kevin.
We're still waiting
Look,
on that.
looking at your watch, yeah, we still waiting.
Yeah, May 28th.
I asked the
March it
YouTube
was
chat,
imminent.
by the way, the exact same question. Which Brown will increase his sack total the most? The number one answer is pretty split, by the way. No answer is more than 30%. No answer is less than 21%. The chat says a guy we didn't mention, Zadarius Smith. Well, I guess we mentioned him, Bull, but not in the
Chat
same
lost as
capacity.
usual.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith.
No
in
offense, chat. You lost.
The
as
chat's
usual.
voting with 149 votes, 28% Alex Wright, 30% Zadarius Smith, 20% Miles, 23% Ogbo.
Wait, who was second?
Why would you? How old is Zadarius Smith?
32, but I'll confirm for you in one
What
second.
was his percentage? How many people voted for him?
31%. And he's turning 32 this year.
He's turning 32. He only had 5.5 sacks last year, which has been down from every other year.
His best days are behind him.
He's in decline.
Yeah.
He's still a decent player, but he's in decline.
I wouldn't be surprised if he slides down a little bit. He's physical enough to be inside, and he's big enough.
Don't you want to see what Alex Wright and Ogbo have? Like, I want to see those guys play more than the older guys.
Increase his sack numbers.
Ogbo is what he is.
Well, but he missed some games last year, so playing more, maybe he has 7-8 sacks. Like,
I agree with the upside on Alex Wright. I like.
Yeah.
I want to see more of him. Za'Darius and Ogbo, I think you know what they are, and that's not bad. Like, that's not
right.
That's when you say that, that's misconstrued.
Right, but Ogbo might have more sacks because he plays more games. He was hurt last year.
Yeah.
Whereas Za'Darius, he's not. I'd be shocked if he had more than 5.5 sacks this year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it. Well, hold on, wait a minute. Let me think about it.
6.
He could get 6. He could get 6.
Trip and fall on him.
Because it was a time where he was there, but he just
But he's 32, and in the last year, remember the second half of the 22 season,
he fell off.
He had like 1 sack the whole second half, and then he had 5.5. So it's 6.5 sacks in his last 24 games.
Ain't the beginning of our year easy? Like the teams we play, ain't it easy teams?
Dallas.
Outside of that,
yeah, I mean, there's some
because it go easy hard, easy hard. Yeah, he might listen. He might look. He can run it up. He can run them numbers up.
Before we move on, I'm going to give you the defensive tackles and their sack numbers from last year. We all went with defensive ends for this.
94.
Right, I mean, yeah, you were 3. Oh my God, I graduated in high school in '94.
Bull, you guys let me know if you think these defensive tackles will have more sacks or less sacks in 2024. So I'll give you their 2023 number.
Or each
No,
individual
I'm going to just go through each of them individually real
All
quick.
right, go ahead.
Dalvin Tomlinson had 3 last year.
Weren't they all in one game?
Against Arizona, he took down Clayton Tune 3 times. Will he have more or less?
What's the most he's ever had in a season?
ESPN says in a season his career high in sacks is 3.5, which he did twice in New York.
I'm going to go – I'll say he gets 4 next year. I'll go over.
Who are we talking about?
Dalvin Tomlinson, over under 3 sacks that he had last year. I'm going 4, so I'm over.
Under.
Under. Can't say the same. Got to go over under.
If all 3 came in one game against a guy who should be in the Arena League, I got to go under.
It probably is under, but I'm
under.
Going under.
Mo Hurst had 1.5 last year.
Over.
I'll take over.
I'll go over.
Trip and fall on the pile once, twice.
Shelby Harris, 1.5.
Under.
Under, because he's getting older.
Yeah.
And where do you think Mike Hall Jr. ends up at?
3.
I was going to say 2.5.
Is he going to play enough? In a perfect world, he does, which means they push out some of the veterans because he's made a name for himself.
I'll say 3 that fall in the
2.5.
I'll go 2.5 with
they'll
Jason.
escape up and he'll fall right in his lap.
2.5.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right. last break of the show.
No Sione Ika. Over under 1/2 sack for Sione Ika.
Over.
Half.
I'm going under.
I'll take the
Sione
push.
Ika is if Sione Taki and Siaki Ika had a baby.
Oh, Siaki.
So that person doesn't exist. So I'm taking the under on Sione Ika's sack total in 2024.
Siaki Ika, right?
Siaki Ika and Sione Taki who's now in New England. So, all right, PFF put out their top 25, under 25 list last week. And I'm going to run through the top 10, the last 5, and then we're going to talk about some possible omissions to see if PFF missed the mark on that.
Losing his mind at his
Earl was very upset.
Martin Emerson, he thinks he's the best player in football.
I have specific marching orders from Earl to mention MJ Emerson.
Oh, my God.
So we'll get to that in a sec. PFF's top 5. Now, their cutoff was you had to be – you were ineligible if you were 25 by the start of the season.
Okay.
So guys like Micah Parsons and Justin Jefferson, they specifically mentioned.
Are you surprised Sewell's number 1?
Were specifically mentioned as being.
How is Trevor Lawrence ahead of Jamar Chase?
This was their top 5. Sewell at 1, Gardner at 2, Lawrence at 3, Chase 4, Hamilton 5.
No.
Before we get to the rest.
I mean, Jamar Chase should be number 1.
We all have immediate issues with the top 5, right?
He's injured.
Yes.
I would have Jamar Chase 1.
I would. I like Sauce at 2.
Sauce Gardner. Listen. Chase, Hamilton, Gardner, and Sewell are all great. I don't understand why Trevor Lawrence is in the top 5.
That's my only beef. If you want to order them any way you want,
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. The other 4 guys are fantastic players. Trevor Lawrence has had 1 good year out of 3 so far.
Unless he's getting points for playing quarterback. But
I don't know.
I don't know. They didn't seem to.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence belongs in the top 25. And is part of this list projecting?
no.
It does. Right now. It says
Yeah.
these are top 25 players under 25.
Okay.
Which the Lawrence thing, I didn't get. The other 4 are all elite.
I still
at
like
their
Lawrence
positions.
a lot, but I wouldn't have him in the top 5.
Yeah. All right, 6 through 10 real quick. Steve, take the next one here. And your next is Aiden Hutchinson of the Lions, C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy, Garrett Wilson, and Trent McDuffie
To your point,
of the Kansas
yeah,
City Chiefs.
I'd have Stroud above Lawrence. Maybe that's prisoner of the moment. Coming off a great rookie year, I know it's only a rookie. I'd have Stroud above Trevor Lawrence.
I'll go even crazier.
Some people
I'd have
got
Stroud number 1. I would have Stroud number 1. If I had to start a team under 25, now
tell you
that's
what.
not a fair comparison,
Right.
Because quarterback
Right.
heavy.
That's not fair.
But
I look at that part right. This
Of those 3 quarterbacks, I'd take C.J. Stroud every day.
and I would, and I know people will disagree.
man.
I'd take Purdy over Lawrence.
Look at you, go Bucks.
Oh, C.J. Stroud's
C.J.
phenomenal.
Stroud's phenomenal.
We got 2
All
Buckeyes
these guys,
right there. Go Bucks.
I'd have all of these guys ahead of Trevor Lawrence. I don't know enough about Trent McDuffie.
Jeez. Trent McDuffie was that dude in the slot.
Yeah, he's really,
last
really
year.
good. Do you want me to read? I
He
didn't make
was
graphics for
a
11
slide.
through
Yeah, who's
20.
11 through 15?
I'll just do the 11 is Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions.
Fantastic.
12, Puka Nacua.
Great.
13, Pat Surtain.
They got PS2 that low? That's absurd.
Who
That's
should he be ahead of?
absurd. That's absurd.
Trevor Lawrence.
PS2 is like the best corner in the league.
Okay.
That's absurd.
Is he better than Sauce Gardner?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
That's
Wow.
absurd.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay.
Will Anderson was 14. Tyler
he's
Smith,
great.
the tackle for the Cowboys, was 15. Bijan
phenomenal.
Robinson, 16.
Who
Javon
was
Holland.
16? Sorry.
Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson, 16.
16.
That's cool.
Who's 17?
Javon Holland of Miami, the
That's
safety.
the safety.
Oh, yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
Greg Rousseau, the pass rusher from Buffalo at 18.
He's very good.
Sam Laporta, the tight end from Detroit
he's
at 19.
phenomenal.
Ooh.
And then Tyler Lindenbaum at 20. And then we have 21 through 25 because there's something to point out here. Steve, take this. 21, Jahmyr Gibbs. 22, Jalen Carter.
Go
23,
Bucks.
Derek Stingley Jr. 24, Chris Olave. 25, Kyle Pitts.
So,
which means no
Who is
Browns.
Earl putting it? Who is Earl taking out?
So real quick, I went through just to find the age limits. Steve, take the next one.
Yeah.
Possible omissions. Emerson,
oh,
DeJuan,
stop DeJuan Jones. Stop
Newsome,
it.
and JOK.
The
He's
J-
just saying who their candidates
Oh,
would be.
I
I'm
mean-
just saying these are candidates who fit the age. I'm not saying.
right.
the
Just saying
JO
these are
the
guys who
JO
you could
thing
make a case.
is
I got
up
you.
there.
Should any of these 4 have been on the top 25? Or
I don't
do you
think
think
so.
PFF got it right by
Let me see
including
that. Let me see the
Zero
list
Brown?
Look
before
at
that.
21 to 25.
Yeah, let me see
Who are
that
you
again.
taking out there? I mean, Kyle Pitts has put up good numbers considering he's had terrible quarterbacks. His numbers have still been
He
decent.
had 1 year, and that was his rookie year.
Tyvis, this was 21 through 25.
Only reason that Kyle Pitts may get it over JOK is because he's an offensive player. That's the only reason.
So you take JOK over Emerson on a 25 under 25 list. I'm just asking. I'm not making a case one way or the other.
I would.
I think it's close. I think it's really
very
close,
close.
between the
I
two
take
of them.
JOK over Emerson. I wouldn't take. I like both of those guys, but I wouldn't take either of those guys over anybody on this bottom 5 here.
You would have taken
No,
JOK over
listen.
Derek Stingley?
like I said, no, there's no knock on Emerson, but I'm
Yeah.
telling y'all, it was something last year about him, like that people started figuring out.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of worried.
And I'm worried this
Yeah.
season
Jason and
about
Earl
him.
are too obsessed with
Yeah,
him.
I'm
He's a
worried.
very good player.
He
but-
is.
I'm with Titus
okay.
on
I'm
this.
telling you, it's something. They figured something out.
At the start of the year, I was
Yeah.
with
He was
Earl.
locked down, but towards
Yeah.
the end, people got tape on him, and I'm telling you it's something. Now, I'm not saying that he ain't good or nothing like
good.
that.
He's definitely good.
He's definitely great, but I'm just telling you, what
he's definitely
JOK was doing last year was ridiculous
Yeah,
at times. I was sitting there with having to break the film down with McNuggets, and I'd be like, I cannot believe that he's seeing it this fast and he's playing this fast, and he was getting under them guards. It was unbelievable the way that man was playing that linebacker last year.
You could make a case for JOK to be right there at the back end of that list, I think.
I would.
Yeah.
The Kyle Pitts thing, I would probably take JOK. I would.
still think I think Kyle Pitts has been misused and has played with terrible quarterbacks.
Who was his quarterback his rookie year? Well, Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Listen, Kirk Cousins love tight ends. So if it don't happen for him this year,
Right,
it's
right,
done.
right, right.
It's done.
one thing that I found interesting, and I didn't have the
A lot of
list.
good players.
There's a lot of good players,
Yeah.
and I think this is the type of thing where you see the Browns not having a first-round pick for the last 3 years shows
sure.
up. It reveals itself. I wonder how many of those guys were first-round picks.
Well, let's go
Well,
through
I'll do it
it.
real quick. Panay Sewell was number 6.
Can you bring up the list again?
Yeah, Steve, go.
I know.
I'll read it through while Steve's looking. But Panay Sewell was a top 10 pick.
Yep.
It doesn't just first round.
First round.
Sauce Gardner, top
Yep,
10 pick.
yep.
Trevor
The first
Lawrence,
one
number
is
1
the mine,
overall.
yeah.
Jamar Chase, top 10.
Yep.
Kyle Hamilton was the 14th pick.
Yep. So
First
round.
Aiden Hutchinson, second
round.
overall. C.J. Stroud, second overall. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
Right,
So
so
he's our
7.
one exception so far.
So 1.
Garrett Wilson, top 10. Trent McDuffie was a first-round pick.
9 out of 10.
Amon-Ra St. Brown was
No.
not.
Nope, 4th round.
Fourth round. Puka was
No.
not.
That's 3.
Pat Surtain was. Will
That's 10.
Anderson was.
11,
Tyler Smith was.
12.
Bijan Robinson was.
13.
Javon Holland, I don't believe.
remember.
was.
I don't
Let me
think
check.
I think he was a second round
Yeah,
pick.
he was.
All right, so
So
13.
that's 4 guys. I got the non-first rounders. 4.
Greg Rousseau,
He was.
He was a first round
He
pick.
was.
Laporta was not.
No, he wasn't.
You sure about that?
No, he was a second round pick.
Okay.
All right, so we're at
So
14.
that's 5.
Tyler Lindenbaum was.
He was.
Yeah.
Jameer Gibbs was.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter was.
Yeah.
Derek Stingley was. Chris Olave was. Kyle Pitts was.
So 20 of the 25
20
were
to
first
25.
round picks.
And that's where not having a first-round pick for 3 years sort of limits
Yeah.
you in stuff like this.
So the 5 guys that weren't, Purdy, Amon-Ra,
Nakua. And I forget the other 2.
Sam Laporta and Javon Holland. So
and I think Laporta and Holland were second round
both.
picks.
I just looked both early second round picks.
Yeah. So if you look at only 3 of those guys were outside of the top 40.
Laporta was the 34th pick, so
Yeah.
literally just outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Holland. I need a third hand so I could type talking to the mic and click. Javon Holland, draft pick. He was, second round pick.
Shows the importance of
And he was 36th overall, by
So
the way.
yeah. So 22 of the 25 were drafted in the top 36.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
So you're
You
really
know, obviously Amon-Ra and Puka Nacua, people missed the boat on those 2 guys because
Right.
they're fantastic.
right.
So
Yep.
there's no way that we're trading our pick this year.
I would think
With the Browns, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
They're in full win now mode.
And Emerson and JOK were both second round picks, right?
No, third.
Emerson was 3rd.
Emerson was
JOK
third,
was
yeah.
second.
Second.
JOK was second, right?
MJ was a third. DeWan was a fourth.
Hey, those guys have both been good picks. They're
Yep.
both very good players.
Yo. They
But-
they both should get paid by the Cleveland Browns.
And probably they'd be in consideration. Now, I say they'd be in consideration 25 to 30, but we're not thinking about the other guys
Sure.
from other teams
Right.
that are not too.
But they're there.
certainly
They're knocking on the door.
They're not far off from the bottom of that list. But, you know, I would in the end, I think all the guys 21 25 were better. And now, if JOK
I'm taking
does it again this year,
He's
then,
on the
then
list.
it's a different-
If he still qualifies.
Kyle Pitts ain't did it in 2 years.
How old is JOK? Is he even eligible
He-
next year? He probably would.
This is the last year he's eligible.
Yeah.
He will be
Kyle
25.
Pitts had
Well, most of those guys
He
will be
had a
gone
rookie
next year.
season where he got 1,000 yards, and that's been it.
But I think that has more to do with the team.
So how is he still on the 20?
Now, you can make the argument for JOK, the same thing. But
Yeah.
JOK was awful 2 years ago. Kyle Pitts was never awful.
He his past couple of years, yes, he
He's
has
been okay, not awful.
JOK was
What is
good.
his? What
Hey,
is
Will,
Kyle
phenomenal.
Pitts numbers?
I will get those numbers real quick. I want to turn the camera over to real quick, who says we are all missing the mark, and I'm going to give him.
Is Earl being serious, or is he just...
No, I'm not even joking.
Is this
right now.
DeWan or
so,
MJ?
So MJ didn't give up a single touchdown last year. MJ had 77 targets come his way, only gave up 33 receptions. Opposing quarterbacks had a passer rating of 45.3 when targeting him as well. So, I think it's a legit case for this dude. He was good as a rookie, and then he followed it up with a great sophomore season. I'm not even being funny right now. I think he got snubbed.
I am worried about. I agree with Tyvis. Something happened toward the end of the year. He just didn't look fast. It looked like something got figured out on him. I still really like him. I still think he's good.
What everybody figured out.
I hope I'm wrong.
On MJ is what I think it is I think that MJ is really good at the line of scrimmage. I think that he's good with his hands.
Big and physical.
I think he's big. He's good with his hands, and he can get a good jam. But I think the long speed is the problem because he only ran like a 4.53. So I think what happens is if he doesn't get a hand on you, and I'm gonna tell you, if you want to see what I'm talking about, go watch the Jets game. Garrett Wilson, it was like the first or second series of the game. Garrett, they beat him off the line. They threw the fade right now, so he couldn't recover to it. He threw it, boom, he caught it. It was real quick. And I was like, huh. And then if you keep thinking about towards the end of that season, everybody started running deeper developing routes, more fade routes. And when you look at the speed, it was a little bit of separation. I'm just saying, that's all I'm saying is that it's something about his long speed, and if he don't win at the line, it's like people know his recovery speed is just not that fast right now. But that's something that he can fix as long as his technique is good, and he did a good job for the majority of the season being on top of routes to where he took that away. But I'm just saying, it's there. That's all I'm saying. It's there.
For what it's worth, he finished 66th among corners in PFF grade.
Earl says PFF's dead to him.
It's dead to me. It's dead to me too.
I've long thought we put way too much stock in PFF. I made that point all last year.
I mean, it's hard though with positions besides wide receiver and running back and quarterback
I know.
to know what stats to use.
I know. Especially offensive line, it's hard.
Right. I mean, it's hard to. We're
Even
not
defensive
watching
line.
other offensive linemen.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Well, let me ask y'all one last question on this, then we'll wrap up the show here. PFF's just one opinion. It is obviously not the only thing that we have to take into consideration when you're looking at the roster construction for the Browns top to bottom. But based off this one list and having no Browns in the 25 under 25 category, concern may not be the right word, but does it worry you at all that the top end of the Browns' talent is either in their prime or on the back end of their prime? Is this roster too top heavy with older guys in that sense, or does that? And once again, PFF's just one list. I'm not even saying that's the case.
Yeah,
but does it give any concern?
For me, it's I don't know about you guys. It's it's not because you mentioned four guys there who are pretty good players, and I do think Martin Emerson's a really good player, and JOK's a really good player. I do
too.
And I think DeJuan Jones has a ton of potential. Now, at his size, can he stay healthy? That's going to be a big question.
Correct.
I don't like Greg Newsome as much as the other three guys, but he's still a solid player. And so, and as Jason said, they haven't had first-round picks, so you're not going to have the Jamar Chases and some of these guys.
Out of curiosity, Earl, who would you put MJ over on that list?
Honestly, Kyle Pitts.
Okay.
To Bull's point, we don't really know much about the other offensive linemen, but when I look through the list, I can't hate on anybody on the list. It's a solid list, but Kyle Pitts ain't did a damn thing for real.
Yeah, his numbers the last 2 years, Tavis. You asked for it. In 2022, he only played in 10 games, had 28 catches, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. In 2023, he played in all 17 games, had 53 receptions, 667 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
So what
in
was
his career,
what
he
was
has
you
6
saying
touchdowns.
to me?
Yeah, 1,000 yards in those 2 years combined.
What was you telling me,
Yeah,
Bull?
listen, he hasn't put up the stats.
It's okay. No, it's terrible.
Fair enough. It was terrible. You're right. Yes, last year wasn't terrible. I mean, we're lauding JOK. JOK only had 200 more yards.
Njoku.
Njoku, sorry. We can't. He wasn't terrible last year. 2 years ago was a terrible season. He was mediocre last year. And I just think let's see how he plays with Kirk Cousins.
I'm about to say, with Kirk Cousins, it should be different. But I'm just saying.
You want to put Martin Emerson ahead of Kyle Pitts?
That's him. That's him.
There's an argument to be made there.
I don't disagree with him on that one either. I would take MJ Emerson over Kyle Pitts.
But I still think Kyle Pitts
because if it came down to it, if we was in the game and MJ Emerson had to check Kyle Pitts, MJ Emerson would probably win that rep.
Was a quarterback checking Kyle Pitts?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's see after this year who's better. It's hard to compare a tight end and a cornerback. But I still think I think Pitts has been sabotaged by the organization and the quarterbacks.
Would you agree that his career has been a disappointment?
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. To this point, yes.
It's impossible to argue against that.
Because he was coming out, he was this is the greatest tight end we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the first year was good. I know because I had him on fantasy.
I mean, to have 1,000 yards as a rookie is very rare as a tight end. Almost never happens.
He had a
He's had
quarterback.
1,000 over the last
2 years,
two.
yeah.
I know. But look who's playing look who the quarterbacks.
I give him that. That's legit right there. His
You know?
quarterback play has not been great.
You think he'd only have those numbers if he were playing with a good quarterback? I doubt it.
We're going to find out this year. We're going to find out a lot about a lot of people this year,
So
actually.
we are. No, that's a good point, Titus. We do not have any super chats today, so we're going to end this a little differently, and not on a somber note, but we also had news yesterday that Bill Walton passed away from his battle with cancer. Bill Walton was out there in the best way possible. Listening to Bill Walton call games was an experience like none other. His style wasn't for everybody. Like, there are people who didn't like his style when he was broadcasting games. Other people loved it. Jason, I'm curious, in your NBA career, did you ever have any interactions with Bill Walton in passing in terms of when he was calling NBA games, working at ESPN and whatnot? Do you have any
Briefly,
Bill Walton stories
one
to share?
time, briefly, nothing, no great story. He was a great guy, though. Obviously, I know his son Luke somewhat well. Luke was a player here, and obviously was a coach this year under JB the last couple of years. And his dad used to say such outlandish things. Sometimes it would get Luke in trouble. And Luke told his dad, like, Dad, could you dial it down a little bit? Like, I'm catching heat for the stuff that you're saying, and I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Just about talking about different players or whatever else. But he's such a great guy. Bill Walton, just a legendary broadcaster, would take his shirt off on broadcast, would just start talking about the Grateful Dead and whatever else. He was one of one. And we'd heard for a little while that he had been sick. Luke was away from the team late in the year, obviously to tend to this for a couple of days that I know of. And so obviously condolences go out to the entire Walton family, including Luke and his family. He'll be missed. He was a treasure. It feels like we're losing a lot of them here. We're losing a lot of treasures in the last year and a half or so.
No doubt. Dustin and I had a chance to interview him once. We had to pre-record it before the show.
Yeah.
And it was as crazy as you would think.
Yeah.
It was even crazier because we couldn't see each other. It's a radio interview. We're recording it, and he was just going on and on. Like, we barely had to ask him any questions because he would just go on these tangents.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I don't want to stop him.
He's
Let him go.
7-foot Leroy on shrooms, and I mean that is like the best compliment in the history of the world. Like, I mean
that's
that
crazy.
in the highest respect and regard.
Supposedly, he would. You know how, like, some families you'll have a fruit basket on the table. His fruit basket at his house, apparently, maybe you could ask Luke about this, would just have marijuana in it, which is awesome. But that's what I heard. If you want to ask Luke Walton about that,
That's incredible.
But I mean, the guy was not afraid. Like, so many people in the media are afraid to poke fun of themselves
Or to just be themselves.
and be themselves. And he just was himself. It seemed. I mean, and he was not afraid to make fun. I was seeing this montage, and he was doing a game with
Dave Pasch.
No, he did. Yes, but no, there was another one. I can't think of the guy who was the White Sox broadcaster, really good baseball broadcaster. Now he's doing the Tigers this year.
Oh, Jason. Is it Jason? I know who you're
Jason
talking about.
Benetti?
Yes.
Jason Benetti, who's
Yes.
great. And Jason's a fun guy. I mean, I don't know him personally, but from what I hear, he's a really fun guy, too. And there was this one video where Bill Walton grabs Jason's tie and starts, like, licking it. And it was so bizarre. And Jason Benetti's cracking up. A lot of guys would have been so uptight about that.
Yeah.
And he was crazy. But you know what people forget, and if you're not old enough, Bill Walton was a great player.
Phenomenal.
One of the best college basketball players ever. And then he goes to Portland. He's a great player. And I remember as a kid when he went to the Celtics as the sixth man, I think they won their last championship.
86.
He was there. And he was awesome.
He's the only guy with this resume in the history of basketball. 3 NCAA championships, 2 NBA championships, an NBA MVP, and an NBA Sixth Man of the Year award.
Yeah.
That's it. Bill Walton, list of 1.
Foot injuries really kind of derailed
right.
his NBA career, but one of the greatest college players
Oh, my God.
ever. Just a force, an absolute force.
Can I ask, because obviously, Tyvus, you and I are too young, and Bull, I'm not sure.
You can't
and
ask
Jason,
me
I'm not.
nothing about
Like
that.
because he was a passing big first. He was like kind of Jokic, pre-Jokic in a way. Wasn't he more of a pass first big?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't, like, shoot from the outside. I mean, he was a post player.
Yeah.
But he did pass. I don't remember him in the Portland or college days. I mean, I'm too young for that.
No, I don't either.
But I
Just
remember him
clips.
on the Celtics.
I remember him on the Celtics, too.
And, he had that one year where they won, where he stayed relatively healthy.
Yeah.
And, he loved Larry Bird, and he would talk about being Bird's caddy all the time and all this stuff. And to me, that's when basketball was at its best. So
It's not at its best now?
Not for me.
No.
I find the modern game boring.
Is baseball at its best?
It's a good question. I would say no.
Is football at its best?
Yes.
Football's right now is the best it's ever been.
For me, it is.
You agree with that statement?
That's part of the reason why it's so popular for me.
I
guess.
I think it's easier today. I think today it's easier to make it in football and get money than it was back in the day.
Well,
I think
that's any sport.
No, but I'm talking just like 10 years ago. Like
I
feel like, especially when it comes to DB play, like I feel like the DB play today is more. You can do something for one season, but then never do nothing ever again.
Right.
But people will still say you one of the best.
Right.
Whereas when Revis, Sherm, Pat Pete, when they was playing, they had to literally be the greatest every year, and
That
they
sounds
could
like
have
Richard Sherman propaganda coming out of your mouth.
No, because I would never tell him this.
Yeah.
I just feel like that the way that the standard that they was held to is different than today. Like they never like Revis fell off towards obviously his last 3 years with the Jets was terrible, but he was always at the top. And
But what about Darryl Green? He was good forever.
And I got one more Bill Walton story. I just texted Steve Becker. I couldn't remember who told me this story, but my buddy Carlos, who I played at Emerson with, is the head producer for it. There used to be The Jump. Now it's what's NBA Today at ESPN, right?
Yeah.
They had Bill Walton on, and he came in. He saw a picture he liked on the wall and just took it and left.
Yeah.
And they were like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I like this picture. It looked great in my house." And they're like, "You're Bill Walton. Okay, it's yours." And took it. So
And
Bill
he
Walton
signed
was
the wall behind where the picture was.
Rest in peace. We'll see you on overtime.